I take great pleasure in the President of the United States just tweaking and, let's be honest, screwing and making fun of every other country in the world. And I should say screwing with, not screwing. 604, good morning. It is great to have you here on KCMO Talk Radio. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us as we put a bow on the week here on KCMO. So if you did not see this viral moment yesterday, you are missing out, and I can't do it justice. I'm going to do my best, but I can't do it justice. You've got to see it to believe it. The president was visiting yesterday with the Japanese prime minister. They are sitting side by side. They are taking questions from the press. And the president gets asked by one of the Japanese reporters, hey, why didn't you give a little more intel, insight, heads up to all your friends around the globe about this impending attack on Iran? And the president, as only he can, turned the whole thing back on the reporter. And yeah, you know what? He did his own Trump comedy hour with it.
In Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran. So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise.
Oh, right? My goodness. That is just unbelievable from the President of the United States. It's like he had it lined up there, John. It's absolutely amazing. You can't make this stuff up, man. It's so good. Wrong mic on there, my man.
This one? There we go. Yeah, he walked right into the trap, these guys, you know?
Yes. He walked right into the trap is what he did.
I thought to myself, here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing, though. For over 80 years now, I mean, it's been 85 years this year since Pearl Harbor. For 85 years. There's no way a president would have ever said that in front of the leader of Japan or the press of Japan. And Trump just says, yeah, I'm going there.
I was watching her face.
I know, and her face. So I had a bunch of group texts going on about this yesterday. We were talking about it in our group text on the show. I had a group text with my dad and one of my brothers talking about it. And at first, I didn't notice the Japanese prime minister's face, Shinai Takachi. I didn't notice her face. I actually thought she was pretty stone-faced. But then I got sent a video by my dad of like a close-up of her face. Mm-hmm. And you can tell she's doing her best to just play cool, but you can tell she is incredibly uncomfortable about the whole thing.
She's trying to Homer Simpson into the bushes.
Yes, that's exactly what she's doing. But, you know, you think about this, right? And what's been going on the world stage for at least a generation, but more like two at this point. We have carried the world on our back. Not just from a military perspective, from a spending perspective, from a NATO perspective. We've talked about this. We've talked about the fact that, we obviously spend the vast majority of NATO spending. 66% of NATO spending comes from the United States. I mean, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars in NATO spending is from us, from the United States, to protect freedom in the West. We spend it. We don't ask them for a lot. They don't do a lot. And you know what? There's a general frustration that Trump really brought to the surface 10 years ago when he first ran. That we've got a bunch of freeloaders just looking for a ride. And we've, by and large, given it to them for far too long. So when all of this is happening with Iran over the last few days, or a couple of weeks now at this point, right? And over the last few days, you've had some of our allies be like, no, I'm not helping the U.S. We're not helping Israel. No one told us about it. Okay, and if we told you about it, what would you guys have done? Oh, yeah, I'll get in line with you guys. I'll be right there with you. Come on. I mean, please. Like we owed them something? I mean, these countries owe us, not the other way around. And the one time we say, hey, can you help us right now with the Strait of Hormuz, most of them are telling us to pound sand. And you know what? I'll say this much. The president has not gone off on these countries like maybe I thought he would have, since he has been rejected by some of them here over the last few days to help out in that part of the world. And their attitude is, hey, we didn't start this. It's not on us. You know what? We've had your back for decades now. Decades. We've looked out for you. We've spent our own taxpayer money on you. We've done what you've asked of us, most recently with Ukraine and basically helping Europe hold off the Russians in Ukraine. We've spent $200 billion on that war. And that was fairly controversial at times here in the United States, but we did it. Because when the right thing needs to be done, not that we're perfect, but the United States steps up to the plate and we help our allies. And now we're asking these guys, hey, can you step up for once? And they're like, nah, sorry, can't do it. And I was on a panel. I'm going to be doing the show on KCTV5 this weekend at 10:30 on Sunday morning. It's going to air after Face the Nation. And it's going to be one of these, panel shows. They've got a new kind of like weekend review on PBS, but not really. We kind of focus on one issue over 15 minutes. And we talked about the war. And I was on with a guy who's a professor up there at Park University, really good guy and smart guy, too. He knows his foreign policy very well. And he brought up the point that, and he's not wrong to bring this up, I just have a different perspective of it. He brought this up of like, well, the president has been tweaking our allies, and now he wants their help, and now they're not so inclined to give the help. Yeah, but here's the thing. We are not all equal. And I mean that like our countries are not equal. Has Trump taken some pot shots at various European countries? The relationship with some of these European countries, the fact that we do get ripped off on some of these deals, yes, he has. But he's also had a right to do it. He also has been spot on in a lot of those criticisms. And it doesn't mean he doesn't want a good relationship with the European countries. He's just calling them out for their freeloading. And this opportunity here with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and the way that the oil is flowing through there and the fact that in many respects, these countries are more reliant on much of that oil than we are here in the United States. This would be an opportunity for them to like step up and say, you know what? This is our chance to prove the president wrong. Let's stick it to this guy and show him that when the world needs us, our country can step to the plate. And none of them want to do it. They don't have any interest in doing it. So they're proving the president's point is what they're doing here. So between that this week and then Trump just ending the week with a bang against Japan, and they're a good friend, they're a good ally. Trump really likes Japan. If you didn't see it yesterday, the prime minister got out of her vehicle at the White House and didn't step out and shake the president's hand, didn't bow to the president. She jumped into his arms. She literally hugged the guy. She was hugging the president of the United States. So that's something right there that you look at and you say to yourself, okay, there's a good relationship here. This was not personal for Trump, but he was just using the moment with Japan to realize, you know what? I'm not going to have you guys tell me how I'm supposed to signal a bombing against the Iranians. We're not going to do that here. And it was, in many ways, spot on. It was comedic in nature as well, which is never a bad thing. And it proved a huge point. 913-408-7957. It's 6:13 on a Friday morning on KCMO. What happened here in the area yesterday with a woman getting randomly attacked and cut at a park in the Kansas City area. We have those details and what we know that the media is not telling you coming up next on KCMO.
from Leawood to Liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
I've got an update on this story that I didn't think was covered all that well yesterday by local media out of Olathe, where a woman was slashed. And the way that this story was covered, I thought was just lacking a lot of context and a lot of information that was out there. 913-408-7957. But the world's still buzzing about the President of the United States yesterday. And the way that he didn't give it to the Japanese prime minister. It wasn't about her. It wasn't about, making her uncomfortable, Sanai Takachi. But it was about sticking it to the rest of the world when he was getting asked yesterday, why didn't you signal better on Iran? And he says, very simply, the most obvious thing that needs to be said.
Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
By the way, breaking news, Democrats are now blaming Trump for Pearl Harbor when he was -5 years old. So that's going on now as well. Libby's in Waldo. Hi, Libby. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Pete. Okay, poor guy being blamed. Okay, I wanted to piggyback on something that you said earlier this morning, and I think I am hoping that other listeners got it. I think they do. We have a good audience here. Our country has been incredible in terms of giving a lot. And many times, I don't think we really ever ask for justifying what that country is going to do with the money that we give or the help that we give. We don't usually demand that at all. And in our personal lives, what you said that really hit home, and it's very, very powerful, equality does not mean the same. And I think there's so much focus on being equal on small levels, but in the larger picture, you're absolutely right, Pete. Other countries aren't equal to us at all, but we still try to give and we still try to help. And when we do that, we benefit. They benefit hugely. And so for them to not come forward and say, thank you for what you did for my country, and I really now want to do something for your country. How may I help? And we're not getting that. But if you look at our personal lives, how often do we get that, even when we give openly? Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right. And we don't really ask them for much. We don't ask them really for anything.
No.
And, we're the reason, frankly, that the world hasn't been a bigger mess since
right.
World War II.
That's
And there's an ungratefulness there. And the notion that, well, if Trump was nicer to us, we might help. It's such a bunch of crock, Libby.
It is.
It's a bunch of nonsense. And deep down, everybody knows it. It's just their convenient excuse to not step to the plate.
Yeah, because when you do step to the plate, in our personal lives as well as on a global basis, there's responsibility. It's not obligation, there's responsibility. And you have to accept the consequences of the actions that you're taking. And they simply don't want to be responsible.
No, they're not interested. They're not.
That's right.
Thank you, Libby.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. That's a very good call. You're right to bring all those things up. If you think that, well, it's just about the President of the United States, and if Obama or Biden or George W. Bush or whoever was in there, Mitt Romney, they'd be just jumping to the front of the line to help us in the Middle East, to help us, get this Operation Epic Fury over and done with quickly, open up the Strait of Hormuz, and hopefully just get back to where things were in very short order. What evidence is there to suggest that they would do that if somebody else was in the White House who was a little nicer to them? And frankly, all Trump is saying is the stuff that most of America has been thinking for decades now. And we do it with pride, right? Like, I'm not one of these isolationist guys where it's like we can't give $1 to any of these people. This is a huge waste of money. No, there's value and there's a reason that you are the leader of the free world. And with that comes a certain amount of responsibility. I accept that. And I think that we all accept that mostly as Americans. That's part of being the global superpower. But with that, once in a while, we may ask you to step to the plate. And I don't mean you, I mean you, these other countries in the West. And they just can never do it. Time and time again. And they're literally proving out right now in real time what Donald Trump's criticisms have been of them for years. For years. Real quick, let's squeeze in Mark. He's in Independence. What's up, Mark?
Hey, I'll be real quick. Hey, I read a story one time about LBJ. De Gaulle wasn't helping the United States like he thought they should on some issue. LBJ got pissed and told him, hey, I tell you what, if you don't help us, we'll just go over to Normandy and dig up all the graves and bring them home.
Wow. That's, you know what? Let's not forget, that's a good line. That's a good line there, Mark. I appreciate you making it. That's unbelievable. But you know what? Let's not forget the good that we have done to save freedom in not just the entire world, but especially in Europe. I mean, my goodness, you want to bring up Pearl Harbor. If it's not for us, as Trump has noted before, all those guys are speaking German right now. All of them. All those people telling us to pound sand right now, they are speaking German today. All right, let's go to Olathe. Story yesterday, a man is in custody after investigators say he walked up to a woman at an Olathe park and cut her face yesterday afternoon. This was at Two Trails Park right off of Ridgeview. Officers arrived. They reported finding a 38-year-old woman with a serious injury consistent with a stabbing. She had been cut on her face. As of yesterday, the woman was in the hospital receiving treatment. Olathe officers identified the suspect as a 27-year-old man and took him into custody. They say there's no threat to the public as of, the arrest yesterday afternoon. So, I mean, right away, when I see the media saying a man, I think, okay, is this someone who is possibly not here legally? Well, I had to go through the Johnson County Sheriff database to try to match this thing up and see exactly who this person was. And it looks like it's an individual named Quan Tresvant. So he is a local in Olathe. He has been arrested before on multiple occasions, misdemeanor, drug charges, things like that. And now the charge yesterday, after he got booked, murder in the first degree. And that arrest happened yesterday at 12:15, which matches up with the story that we got from local news. So that's the background there on that story. Coming up next, why are some people against this new local cell phone policy? Coming up.
From Gladstone to Gardner, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
I gave credit yesterday to the Republican legislature in Kansas and also Laura Kelly for doing the right thing and signing the cell phone bill, as it has been dubbed, that basically would prevent cell phones from being used in Kansas schools. Bipartisan bill, and it was approved earlier this month with support from both parties, that requires public school districts and accredited non-public schools to set policies restricting student use of personal electronic devices during the day. It also places limits on how school employees communicate with students, prohibiting the use of social media for official school business, except in certain cases. I don't know how you could be against this.
What's not to like?
Well, here's what's not to like, according to some.
Oh.
There are Democrats who do not like this, more so than Republicans. I think there's a faction of Republicans who think that this is like a First Amendment issue or something, and they want to make sure that their kids can record their teachers or something doing indoctrination material. It's like, stop living in a fantasy land, and if that's actually happening, your kid can slip an old school recorder into his or her pocket and do it that way. You don't need the phone. But Cindy Holscher, who is running for governor of Kansas as a Democrat, she is a local state senator here in Overland Park. She put out a statement yesterday saying she's against this. Now, she's got no chance of winning. Laura Kelly has already made her endorsement of Ethan Corson, who is a state lawmaker in Fairway. But Cindy Holscher is still running for governor and running this vanity campaign. She put out a statement saying, quote, "I share concerns about cell phones and social media in schools, but this law takes a heavy-handed approach." Okay. If you are the party of lockdowns and school closures and mask up at every turn from a few years ago, I don't want to hear you talk about a heavy-handed approach to anything. Okay, like you are not a serious person if you were endorsing long lockdowns and long mask requirements and now worried about the heavy-handed approach of government. You've got to be kidding me with that. So spare me. She goes on to note over 90% of Kansas students are already in districts with policies in place. Yet this new law overrides local control, imposes an unfair mandate, and puts a burden on teachers without providing the necessary resources. Unfortunately, school leaders were ignored during this legislative process. Now that this measure will be law, I urge the state to work closely with educators on implementation and to listen to their concerns. And I urge the legislature to make any necessary changes to the law as implementation challenges arise. Boy, that is the most pretzel twisting statement I've ever seen and read.
Used a lot of action words, though.
That's a good point. What does any of this mean? So you're saying on one hand, 90% of Kansas students are already in districts with policies, but this is going to somehow create a burden on teachers and not provide necessary resources. If you're saying that the law itself is basically unnecessary because people are doing it already, that's fine. Okay? To me, this just gives you a blanket statewide law that every school district can abide by and is uniform across the state. Why wouldn't you want that? That actually makes it easier for teachers going from one district to another, from administrators going from one district to another. This is really more of a one-size-fits-all approach across the entire state of Kansas. It should actually make the process easier and streamline the process so school districts can work together under the same policy. Instead, this whole thing of like, well, districts are doing it anyway, but this is also going to cause a burden on teachers and not give them resources. Resources for what if they're already doing it? I mean, I don't know, John. Am I missing something here? This seems
I
like
was curious about that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I didn't know what it cost a teacher to say, put that phone away.
Well, it's like, is this just another money grab? Is that what this is? Is that what they're going for here? And I don't even know if it's the schools, but it's some people who are ripping the policy that was signed by Laura Kelly, of all people.
Maybe the AI didn't edit that line out for her.
Maybe. But Ty Masterson, who is the Senate president, he put out a video yesterday, and obviously he was supportive of it as well when he said this.
And I just want to say thank you to all my colleagues who worked with me to help 2299 become law today. We just banned cell phones in the classroom. It's going to help our teachers have a more distraction-free environment in which to teach, and help our students have less anxiety and a better environment in which to learn. And when I'm governor, we will continue to put the focus on a world-class learning environment for our children.
Yeah, this is the blowback on this is very strange. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I mean, I'm looking at some of the comments from people that follow Ty Masterson, and you have one person, Melissa, writes to the state senator and says here, what if a child is abused or mistreated by a teacher? They won't be able to film it for proof. Okay. Stop watching murder mysteries and Law and Order SVU. Okay? Please stop. There will you think that kids were unable to report abuse in the classroom before the smartphone came along? And if you haven't seen the data, ACT scores are in the tank, proficiency scores are in the toilet. Everything is trending down in our area schools, in public schools. And that's not just, I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not just because of the cell phone, but the cell phone's not helping. The smartphone is not helping anybody get smarter or learn in the classroom. And that's the whole point. That's the entire point of what this is all about. Getting kids an education. And the phone adds absolutely nothing to that in the classroom. All it is a distraction. It's a distraction for us as adults, never mind kids whose brains are not fully developed. This comes from Joe on social media. That phone is for my convenience, not my son's. If there's an emergency, I need him to be able to get in touch. Your idiotic bill combined with your guns everywhere approach is a dangerous mix. Oh, come on, Joe. My goodness,
Yeah,
Joe.
Call the office.
Joe.
He's a nut job.
Come on, buddy. Relax.
Wow.
Holy smokes, man. Exactly. Call the office. That's what used to happen when I was a kid. All right, get the office call, and then they call the teacher. Hey, Pete, get on down to the office. Mom's got to pick you up for X, Y, or Z. And that's what happens now still with a lot of kids.
Yep.
I mean, you think you can just walk up at a classroom, hey, Mom called, I got to leave. Sorry there, teach. See you later. No, there's a process to all of this. You know, Joe, you want that kind of flexibility, then homeschool, big guy. Okay? But the notion that, you're just going to text your kid or call your kid whenever you want. We heard from a caller yesterday who said they worked in public education and parents are texting their kids all day. So it's not even like the kids are on TikTok. You got parents who are helicopter parents to the max texting their kids all day. I mean, get a life. Jeez. I know that we're looking for a reason to make everything political, and you can tell that the people that are writing back to Ty Masterson just don't like him, and that's your prerogative. I mean, I think he's been wrong on some things too, including this boondoggle of a stadium deal. But first off, he's a good enough man. He'd make a fine governor. And this is like one of the least controversial things to come out of a state legislature in quite some time. And it's bipartisan in nature. And even that's not good enough for people. So people are looking for a reason to complain. They want to find that 1 in a million thing that might happen to justify this not being law. And considering our state legislatures and our federal delegation does a lot more talking than they do action, when they actually do some action once in a while, I'll pat them on the back and I'll say, job well done. Next on KCMO, let's get to our 6 at 6. The top 6 stories in the 6 o'clock hour we'll get to coming up right here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app.
The fun's not done after Mundo in the Morning. Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Join me for Uncanceled at 10 o'clock right here on KCMO Talk Radio.
.648, good morning. Glad you're here on KCMO Talk Radio. Happy Friday. Second day of the NCAA tournament. Got my Villanova gear on today. The Cats are playing Utah State at 3:10. So if anybody is trying to get a hold of me here at the office at about 3 o'clock on a Friday, just don't bother, okay? I'm not picking up the phone. I mean, if the radio station's off the air, I'll pick up the phone. That's the only caveat. If something goes wrong at about 3 p.m., and the radio station's off the air, I'll pick up the phone. But that's it. I'm asking for a 2-hour window of nobody bothering me. And I'm asking that of my colleagues because I know I'm not going to get it at home. It's going to be loud as ever because it always is in my house. That's just how it goes. But it's that time of the morning. Let's do it here on KCMO.
It's time for the 6 at 6 on KCMO Talk Radio. Number 1.
All right, top of the list this morning. Let's go to the story that's been getting a lot of attention overseas. Missing University of Alabama student James Gracie's body was recovered along the shoreline in Barcelona. So Spanish authorities recovered James Gracie's body out of the Mediterranean Sea near where he vanished while on spring break in Barcelona this week. A spokesperson for the Barcelona police confirmed the body belonged to the 20-year-old Elmhurst, Illinois native. And they told CNN everything points to it being an accident, not a criminal act. Gracie, who was visiting friends in Barcelona over spring break, was last seen leaving a popular nightclub in Barcelona at about 3 a.m. on Tuesday. And the identification came hours after police found a lifeless body in 13-foot deep water near the club Thursday afternoon. And soon after, the Gracie family thanked the public for their thoughts and prayers in a new statement that was put out yesterday. So, just an absolute tragedy. Gracie, who goes by Jimmy, was in the Spanish city visiting friends studying abroad when he disappeared. And the nightmare began when he somehow got separated from his group of buddies inside the nightclub. His friends reported him missing after he failed to turn up at their Airbnb about 2 miles away from where they were hanging out that night. So there's not expected to be any kind of foul play involved in this. His wallet was floating in the waters off of the beach, and his phone was also recovered by the police. So it's not clear what exactly happened, but his parents described their son as a kind, responsible, and devoted son and brother.
Number 2.
Next up in our 6 at 6 here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. Let's stay in that part of the world, stay overseas, where the Trump administration has moved forward with roughly $23 billion in weapon sales to 3 Gulf nations, moving to bolster their defenses as, of course, the war continues on in the Middle East. The government has approved the arms sales to the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Jordan, according to the Wall Street Journal this morning, citing U.S. officials familiar with that decision. That includes more than $16 billion for air defense systems, munitions, and radar equipment for the 3 Mideast countries, plus an additional $7 billion in weapons to the UAE. The latter was approved through channels that do not require public disclosure under U.S. arms export rules. The provisional arms sales aimed at bolstering the Gulf nations' military capabilities came as Iran has brought in attacks to several energy infrastructure sites across the region in response to Israeli strikes on its gas facilities this week. So we're wrapping up what'll be the 3rd week of Operation Epic Fury, and that is the latest here as we get it going on a Friday morning.
Number 3.
Let's go to some lighter news here. So we said the other day that World Baseball Classic, I thought was going to do massive numbers, and we have those numbers after the USA lost to Venezuela. Here are the numbers. Nearly 11 million viewers watched the other night as Team USA lost to Venezuela 3-2 in the World Baseball Classic final. Peak viewership, 12.1 million viewers at about 9:30 on Tuesday night. That's up 128% from the numbers a couple of years ago in the World Baseball Classic between the USA and Japan. And it's the most watched Tuesday on Fox since Game 4 of the 2025 World Series. And how about this? The World Baseball Classic final comfortably outdrew all 6 games of the 2025 NBA Finals. Baseball has clearly reestablished itself as the number 2 sport in the country behind football. And there's really no debate at this point. America wanted to watch March baseball more than the end of the NBA regular season. And the baseball game technically was an exhibition game. So that's an unbelievable number. And it goes to show that baseball, which did hit kind of was in a malaise over the last several years, is kind of back to being that number 2 sport. There's been a lot of reasons for that. The star power's improved, but the sports also made the correct changes that they needed to make. Pitch counts, getting rid of the shift, little more offense. They've done all those things that has made the sport once again exciting. And it's been a huge boost over the last couple of years for baseball. So big ratings there.
Number 4.
Well, speaking of big ratings, I'm sure yesterday many of you were glued to the TV. 16 NCAA tournament games yesterday. And the highlight came late when you had VCU do something that had never been done before in the NCAA tournament. It was a first. VCU's 19-point comeback is the biggest in the history of the first round of the NCAA tournament as they beat North Carolina yesterday. Who doesn't like to see North Carolina go down in flames? 19-point lead absolutely vanishes for North Carolina against VCU. So that was probably the highlight of the day as VCU wins in overtime 82-78. And Duke had a bit of a scare as a 1 seed against Siena. They were trailing much of that game, but Duke comes out and wins the game. They avoid becoming the 3rd team ever as a number 1 seed to lose to a 16. But today, we've got our local teams playing. We've got Kansas and Cal Baptist at 8:45 tonight on CBS. And we've got Mizzou and Miami at 9:10 on True TV. And as I noted earlier, my Villanova Wildcats taking on Utah State at 3:10 this afternoon.
Number 5.
Let's go to Olathe, where we're continuing to follow this story. A man is in custody after investigators say he walked up to a woman at an Olathe park, Two Trails Park, and cut her face yesterday afternoon. And, I mean, it's not looking good because when I went on the Johnson County Sheriff's Office website, you match this up with somebody who is charged with first-degree murder after they were arrested at 12:15 in the afternoon in Olathe. Now, local media reports are not saying the status of the woman. They just reported yesterday that she was in the hospital receiving treatment. But this individual, Quan Tresvant, was charged with first-degree murder. So I'm reaching out this morning to people trying to get a hold and handle on what happened, but that's where this thing is leading right now.
Number 6.
And lastly, The Bachelorette was canceled. I know you're all absolutely distraught by The Bachelorette being canceled. ABC has scrubbed the upcoming season starring Taylor Frankie Paul 3 days before its planned premiere, citing a newly released video from 2023 in which she appears to punch, kick, and throw chairs at her former partner as her young daughter watched and cried. This video went viral from TMZ, and it has resulted in the cancellation of The Bachelorette. There's your 6 at 6. Coming up, an update on DHS funding and where the TSA is at next. Am I allowed to complain about 87 degrees today, or do I have to shut up because I was complaining about 32 degrees on Monday? I don't know what the protocol is, but yeah, I wasn't really looking for 87 today. Something in between would be fine. I don't need 87. Good morning, 7:04 on a Friday. Thanks for joining us on KCMO. Moon Choi is going to be here in about 15 minutes. He is the University of Missouri president. Of course, the Tigers are getting set to play Miami later tonight in St. Louis in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So we will be joined by the university president coming up in 15 minutes here on KCMO. Also, there's an exciting partnership with Mizzou and Burns and Mack here in Kansas City. So we'll talk about that and get his Tigers prediction from the university president, Moon Choi, coming up in 15 minutes here on KCMO Talk Radio. Just got a great text I want to share with you before I get to the TSA and where that's at right now. Texter notes here, Pete, every weekday morning I wake up and run for an hour at my local park. That's a good run. While listening to the show, I just passed a gentleman walking on the trail. No headphones, but blasting the show from his phone. Seems that we are both gluttons for punishment. Great show this morning. Well, that's very nice of you.
Show some RESPICT.
Very nice of you. I appreciate you doing that. And a demographic that we have on lockdown appears to be early morning runners and walkers in trails around Kansas City. So I will take that. I'll very much take that. And I know that those listeners are on board with me on permanent standard time and banning daylight saving time. I know those early morning runners and walkers are on my side, John.
We even had those callers who call in while they're running, and they're a little bit out of breath as they're trying to get their laps in, right?
We've had that before,
right?
too.
Yeah.
It's like, can you stop the run just while you make the phone call, please?
Yeah.
Oh, man. And Garner's in for Mark this morning. He gave me a big thumbs up. He's on board with banning daylight saving time. So we're all in. I'll see if I can convince Keatsman when he joins me at 9:50 this morning on KCMO. Roger Marshall was on Newsmax last night, and the Kansas U.S. Senator was talking about the partial shutdown. TSA agents are still not getting paid. They have not been paid. They've missed a paycheck now. And while we're not having these problems here in Kansas City, it is a mess at some of these airports around the country. Atlanta's getting a lot of attention. Houston getting a lot of attention. New Orleans as well, as airports that are having, 90-minute waits to get through security in some cases because some TSA agents aren't showing up to work. And honestly, I don't blame them. I don't. It's the only way to put pressure on these politicians. But here's what's going on. Democrats believe that this thing is hurting Trump more than it's hurting them. In part because people who aren't paying attention are like, well, Trump's the president. It's got to be his fault. Like, people don't understand, and I'm not saying this to be condescending. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people just don't care about the news, the nuance of, like, what's going on. They're just like, well, Trump's the president, so it's got to be his fault. And that's the bet the Democrats are making. They have shut down DHS, Department of Homeland Security, partially because they want ICE agents to not wear masks. That's a big part of it. And Republicans are like, no, we can't do that. These ICE agents are getting doxxed by the way, some of your supporters, and their families are potentially getting threatened. So the reason they are wearing masks is because there is a heightened security level right now around these ICE agents, and they've got to protect themselves and their families. It's really that simple. That's at the core of what's going on here. So Democrats are like, fine, we'll just shut it down, and we'll just go along with the assumption that most people are going to just blame Trump and Republicans. And by the way, it's not a bad bet by them. It's not a bad bet. And Republicans are out there just kind of like pointing to the Democrats, and they're not wrong to do that. The problem is most people aren't hearing it. I saw Dana Perino of Fox News come up with this idea the other day. I thought it was a good one. What if Republicans went to airports and actually set up shop there? What if they actually set up little kiosks of trying to explain their side of the shutdown and what's really going on? Now, you wouldn't need Mark Alford here in Kansas City because we don't really have this problem in Kansas City. There's a third-party group that handles our security. Our agents at KCI are not TSA agents. They're third-party agents handled through a company called VMD. So they're all working. So you're not going to have an issue here, but, if you're flying somewhere, you could have an issue getting back here. That's where you're going to run into a problem. But you're not going to have a problem here in Kansas City. We're one of the bigger cities that does not contract with TSA. San Francisco is the other big city that doesn't do that. So we don't have an issue. But I think Republicans have a problem. And deep down, they know they have a problem. And that's why Democrats aren't budging. This was Roger Marshall talking about it last night on Newsmax.
We're really down, I think, to two key issues right now. The Democrats want to unmask the ICE agents, and then this issue over the warrants. On the unmasking part, that's a non-starter. I've talked to many ICE agents whose families' lives are in jeopardy because of who they work for, what their job is as well, because they dox these ICE agents. And then on the warrant side of this, I'm afraid the Democrats don't understand by the time an ICE agent is picking somebody up, they've been through this process already, a judicial process. So we need to stick with that administrative warrant so indeed we can deport the illegal aliens as well. But those are the last two issues I think outstanding right now.
All right, there you go. That's Roger Marshall yesterday on Newsmax. And then he went on to say that, it's easy for the other side to not want to talk, and that's part of the problem right now.
Yeah, it's great to be with you. It's easy for Hakeem to sit over on the other side of the Capitol and lob things at the Senate. Look, he voted against funding for TSA. I think you made a great point here. This is day 34. I mean, the weeks passed by really, really quickly, and today is the first day that the Democrat senators were willing to sit down face to face and have a conversation. They are the party of the defund the police. They want open borders. They don't believe in law and order as well. So today, after 34 days, the Democrats are finally ready to talk.
Well, I'm not very optimistic that those talks will go anywhere. Yesterday, Senate Majority Leader John Thune said about this partial DHS shutdown that's causing issues at airports all over the country. He said that if they can't come to an agreement by the end of next week, no one's going on spring recess. And you know that you don't want to mess with these senators going on their spring breaks, right? I mean, come on now. They've all, making a ton of money. How they're doing it, God only knows. They've got to go enjoy their spring recess somewhere. Trust me, they've got flights all over the world to enjoy some downtime because they just work so hard on behalf of the people. They need some downtime too. They don't want to miss their spring break trips. They all got some nice fancy trips lined up, I'm sure.
Heading down to Padre.
Yeah, they're having a blast, man. So you don't want to screw with their spring break. So John Thune may be using the one lever that he's got here to get a deal done by the end of next week, which also would make it so they could get paid by the next pay period coming up on likely next Friday. So this is obviously something that hopefully will come to a conclusion soon. But we're still a week away, and these poor TSA agents can't get a paycheck. But you know who's getting paid? Congress. Congress is getting paid. What an absolute sham that Congress, you know what? If they want to really work for the people, they should make it so anytime there's any kind of shutdown, I don't care if it's a full shutdown, a partial shutdown, if any part of the government is shut down, Congress should not get paid either. That's the only way to make this fair. But of course they're not going to do that because they want to get paid while using TSA as a political pawn. It's so gross. It really is. Moon Choi is the University of Missouri president. He will be here. Talk about a really cool partnership that Mizzou just launched in conjunction with Burns and McDonald. And I got to get a prediction from him on the Missouri-Miami game. That's coming up on KCMO.
Vince Colonnese here. Join me for your lunch hour from 11 to 2 on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, the University of Missouri is getting set to play in the NCAA tournament tonight against Miami, but that's not the only exciting and big news for Mizzou this week. So the University of Missouri has partnered with Burns and McDonnell here in Kansas City to provide project controls, engineering oversight, and owner's representation for what is called Next Gen MER. What is that? It will expand Mizzou's capabilities to provide life-saving radioisotopes used to treat cancer and greatly expand neutron science research for the nation. So that's all happening with the University of Missouri and Burns and McDonnell. This is fantastic news. The president of the university, Moon Choi, is joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. How big of a deal is this, Mr. President?
It's a huge deal, and we are so excited to work with an iconic organization like Burns and McDonnell. And our vision is to create the largest research reactor in the United States that's dedicated for radioisotope production. And currently, using our current reactor at the university, we provide 1.6 million doses of life-saving treatments throughout the United States, and sometimes we're the only supplier in the world. And our goal is to build a bigger reactor so that we can secure this critical radioisotopes for American patients that need that support. So we're very excited.
So with that, I mean, for people here in the Kansas City area or around the entire state of Missouri, when it comes to the differences, like what they'll notice, I know it's mostly research. We may not see any thing specific come out of it, say, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. But the long-term potential for this in Missouri is what?
Well, for example, there are research that's going on now that we hope will be able to cure for brain cancer, breast cancer, leukemia, and so forth. But the research that we have been performing over the past 20 years is now going into life-saving treatments right now. When there are patients around the state or around the country that are getting treated for thyroid cancer, liver cancer, prostate and pancreatic cancers, those targeted radiotherapy treatments come directly from Columbia, Missouri. So it also, research has a long-term impact that we all value, but we are seeing the impact of that research being delivered in life-saving treatments right now going forward. And that's what's exciting.
How much do you want to see Missouri as a state? Listen, I know you're the president of the university. You're not a politician, but how much of this is also about getting Missouri up when it comes to how it's perceived in the healthcare sector, which right now, no matter what metric you look at, it's not very high on that list. How much can this be a part of that improvement for the state of Missouri?
I think we could be the national leader. Well, in fact, we are the national leader. We just have to get the word out about radiopharmaceutical production. And we have played such a big role in this new way of treating cancer patients. We need to make sure that Missourians know about it and that people all over the country know about it. And our goal is to create an ecosystem in Missouri centered around Columbia where we can have innovative companies come to our state because they know that we have access to this reactor. We want to have manufacturing firms like Novartis and Eli Lilly locate their facilities here, manufacture the drug, and then ship it out anywhere in the United States because we are centrally located. Mm-hmm. So we are in the perfect place for this to happen, and that's why we have the support of Governor Kehoe, the legislature, and our congressional delegation. And we are going to make some big things happen, and there's only one organization in the country that can do this. No one else, and that's the University of Missouri.
That's awesome. Well, on top of that, of course, the team's getting set, the men's basketball team getting set to play Miami tonight in St. Louis in the NCAA tournament. Having the team in the big dance, how big of a deal is that from a university growth, awareness, marketing perspective, beyond all the things that you're doing otherwise on the 364 days a year to try to get Missouri in front of more people around the state, the nation, and the world?
Huge. You know, being an SEC university is a huge deal. And having a football team, a basketball team, gymnastics, and wrestling that are so central to the success of our university only helps to carry the message that this is a place that students want to come, study because of the outstanding education, but also a fun place. And I'm so excited about what Coach Gates is doing. This is going to be a big test. Miami's a good team, but we're coming and playing in our backyard now. And so we're going to show what Tiger basketball is all about. And I expect us to go on to the second round and have it. I want to beat the next team, too, in the second round, too. So I'm excited.
There you go. Well, it would be the first time in a Sweet 16 if they can win out this weekend since 2009. So, Mr. President, we'll be pulling for him, of course, coming up tonight in St. Louis, taking on Miami. We appreciate you being here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Thank you, Pete. Keep up the great work. Talk to you soon.
All right, Moon Joy, the president at the University of Missouri on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM, streaming as always on the KCMO Talk Radio app this morning. And any brackets busted yet? I had BYU getting to an Elite Eight, and they lost last night to Texas, despite the fact that they have the likely number one pick in the NBA draft in AJ Dybonsta. So there's my first bracket bust. But today, I'm sure I've got more coming. Got KU playing tonight, Mizzou tonight, Villanova's on at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a great day. Coming up next, it was not a great day for the mayor of Kansas City because, well, Al Sharpton was in town, and Al Sharpton totally butchered his name, and I can't stop laughing about it. I'll share it with you coming up next.
from Leawood to Liberty. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So every Thursday morning at 7:30, we welcome on the mayor of Kansas City, Quentin Perry, to KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Is it Quentin Lucas or is it Quentin Perry?
It depends on who you ask, I guess, right?
So Alice Sharpton was here yesterday, and he was here in Kansas City at the Urban League Difference Awards, where he was one of the honorees. And on his Instagram page, he shares a picture of himself sitting alongside Mayor Quentin Lucas. And the caption reads as follows: Kansas City Mayor Quentin Perry and I at the KC Urban League Difference Awards, where I am one of the honorees.
Show some RESPICT.
There you go, old Quentin Perry. I didn't realize I was calling him by the wrong name all these years, John.
Yeah, you wonder what happened there, right? I'm wondering if that's on an assistant, possibly.
It might be,
Right,
but it's hysterical.
You should have checked.
Remember when Joe Biden was here? Oh, geez, I don't know, 22 probably, 2022.
It was a windy day on the Hill.
Yes, and he is doing, I forget what he was here for, but, you know, the mayor obviously was very proud of the fact that Joe Biden was here. He did a little press conference, kind of a deal. He spoke for a couple of minutes, and he does the whole thing of like, where is he? Where's that guy, the mayor guy? Yeah, well, yeah, great to see you, man. And like he totally forgot who he was. And that was hilarious too. And now you got Al Sharpton. I mean, this is like, you know, this is a big deal for Mayor Lucas, right? Photo op with Al Sharpton sitting side by side. And he didn't even spell Quentin right. Quentin is Quinton. Al Sharpton's social media manager, clearly not a Mensa member, spells it Quentin. I mean, they butchered two letters in Quentin Lucas. That's pretty hard to do. You either butcher maybe one letter, but max two letters in Quentin. And Al Sharpton's social media handler, because I can't imagine Al at 80 years old is posting his own stuff to Instagram.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. But if he is, that's even funnier, to be honest.
Got the flip phone out.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. Now, I guess to Mayor Lucas's credit, he had some fun with this, and he shared the screenshot on X, and he said, Q is all I need. Honored to see Reverend Al Sharpton again today. Well, I'm not sure Al was honored to see him, or he was so honored he butchered his name. Oh, my goodness, that's too much. But Al actually very active on his Instagram page. You know, I know it's going to shock you. I did not follow Al Sharpton on social media before now.
Talk about a bombshell.
But, I mean, this guy's got he's posted since yesterday in Kansas City, 19 hours ago. I mean, the guy's got a dozen posts up on his Instagram. So Al loves Instagram. Al does use the pronouns on his Instagram, he, him, his. So his pronouns are prominently displayed on his Instagram page. So, and just in case you were wondering the gender of Al Sharpton, he is a he, him, his, and that is noted on Instagram. But right after the Quentin Lucas picture, I just looked this up. He's got a video reel of himself on MSNBC a couple of nights ago, or MS Now. And he's talking about Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson, and as he describes it here on his Instagram, other MAGA voices trafficking in stereotypes to criticize the Iran war. And he's noting that basically for these individuals criticizing the war, Fuentes, Carlson, some others, it's really about anti-Semitism. Now, I don't deny that to be true in some cases. I can't see into everybody's heart, but clearly there's a portion of people on the right side of the aisle who are motivated by anti-Semitism. But to have that conversation on MSNBC and totally ignore the fact that the anti-Semitism is much more prominent, and I'm not excusing it on the right, but it's much more prominent and much more mainstream on the left than it is on the right. I mean, there's a couple of podcasters and social media influencers, I use that term very loosely, on the right who, yes, would be trafficking in anti-Semitism, but it is much more mainstream. You can find half the people who are contributors on MS Now who are going to dip their toes in the water of anti-Semitism, if not dive in head first. A lot of what you've seen when it comes to attacks against Jewish people are more likely to be folks who are sympathetic to what they would call the pro-Palestinian, once again, I have my air quotes up, the pro-Palestinian movement, and are driven by far-left anti-Semitism than, let's say, right-wing anti-Semitism. You can find example of that all over the place. So I just found it awfully rich for Sharpton to be posting this video. And never mind, I mean, if you want to go back historically to Al Sharpton and the Crown Heights riots of 1991 in Brooklyn, New York, which was a 3-day period of, I guess you'd probably call it civil unrest, that started following a tragic car accident involving a Hasidic Jewish driver. And what you had was, at the time, black residents attacking Orthodox Jewish residents, damaging their homes and looting businesses. And Al Sharpton was a rabble-rouser during those Crown Heights riots going back 35 years. Now this guy's going to be preaching about anti-Semitism? I mean, that is, I mean, for MSNBC or NBC, MS Now, whatever we're calling it, for that organization to put Al Sharpton up on television commenting on that, knowing his history and his track record going back to 1991 in the Crown Heights riots, I mean, that is too much. It's like, does anybody know? It's not even, I'm not an expert on the Crown Heights riots, but I know enough to know that Al Sharpton was prominent in that. It was a clear attack on Jews in New York City at the time. And now I got to listen to him 35 years later preach about anti-Semitism? Come on, Al. Please. Now, as for Quint Lucas, he gave us a little insight into what's going on with him yesterday when he said this as to whether or not he might be filing to run for office. By the end of the month, that's the filing deadline in Missouri.
Well, you know what? I say this. I am likely to be in Jefferson City next week, as it turns out. So let's just see what happens. I'll be around, too. You never say never. Particularly, you never say never when you got 2 weeks left, so that's not even too tough. You know, I think there are about a lot of important conversations that this state needs, and those conversations exist in the corridors of Washington where we need to make sure that Democratic, I think moderate voices are heard. I'm not sure I see that right now, and so, you know, we'll continue to have that discussion. I continue to hope that Missouri's courts step in and make sure Emanuel Cleaver can service for years to come, but there'll be other steps we have to take if that's not the case.
So what's he going to do if he does anything? Well, I think what he'll do is run against Mark Alford, and he'll do it knowing full well that he's probably not going to win. But there might be a little 3D chess going on here. If he loses to Mark Alford this year, okay, fine. He can finish out his term as mayor and, you know, everyone goes home happy. But if there are more legal challenges against this Missouri map, and if somehow there is a legal victory, let's say, to switch the Missouri congressional maps to the way that they were, you know, if you haven't been following, the Missouri congressional maps got changed in the fall by the Missouri legislature. They took Emanuel Cleaver's district and they made it a much more Republican district. Yeah, they gerrymandered the state. I mean, anyone telling you otherwise is full of it. That's fine. They did it. It's being done in blue and red states. Okay, it's happening. Don't love it, but it's the way the game is being played depending on who runs the state. So they make Emanuel Cleaver's district a much more Republican district. That was upheld here by a court, last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. There's likely to be more legal challenges. Those decisions may not come until, let's say, next year. Let's say Emanuel Cleaver loses his general election re-election bid this year, right, in this new 5th congressional district. But then next year, the legal challenges keep coming, and they revert the map back to where it was, which made the Kansas City district much more of a Democratic district. Well, then Quint Lucas, because Emmanuel Cleaver's no longer in there, he can run. Right? He said on this show he'd never primary Emmanuel Cleaver. But if Cleaver loses the race this year because the map is more Republican in Kansas City, Cleaver's gone, Cleaver's out, a Republican's in there, and then the map gets reverted back to where it was sometime next year, that sets up Quint Lucas to run in now basically a Democratic district in 2028. That's potentially where all this goes, because then he doesn't have to deal with the whole, well, you're not going to primary Cleaver and Cleaver's going to handpick his successor. And, for those who want the inside baseball, it would never be Quinton Lucas. I'm just being honest. It wouldn't be. Everyone knows that. It's just people don't want to say it publicly. So this now sets him up to potentially be in a situation where he can run for this theoretical open seat, and there's no one to tell him that he can't. There's no one to really get in his way. And he would obviously be a front runner in that hypothetical race if the map were to revert back to where it was, depending on how this thing plays out going forward. So that's the long-term potential 3D chess plan for the mayor of Kansas City. 913-408-7957. Let's do our final opportunity of the week to win those Hank Williams Jr. tickets. What do you say? Seventh caller right now, 913-408-7957. It's your last chance of the week to win Hank Williams Jr. tickets coming to Morton Amphitheater later this year. Seventh caller right now. We'll do it. We'll get our winner. And we have much more to get to here on KCMO Talk Radio, including this story. We've got another example of developer excess in the Kansas City area. Who and where we'll tell you next.
From Gladstone to Gardner, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, John, who won those Hank Williams Jr. tickets?
Robin Lansing was number 7 this time around. So you'll see Hank Williams Jr. and Joe Nichols at Morton Amphitheater on Saturday, September 19th. Tickets are on sale this morning.
All right. Very good. Very good. Very good. Congratulations. There you go. Let's go to Lee's Summit. And this story is not unique to Lee's Summit. It's happening all over the Kansas City metro. But there's a big meeting coming up in Lee's Summit on March the 24th. And what's happening there is they are going to vote on a high school sports complex. Not a high school, but a View Heights sports complex. It's a youth sports complex that is being built over in Lee's Summit. It was approved last year. So last year, Lee's Summit City Council approved 3D Builders KC to move forward with a brand new youth sports facility. So it's going to be one of the biggest indoor youth sports training and tournament venues in all of Missouri. 180,000 square foot indoor facility featuring an indoor FIFA regulation-size soccer field, 8 basketball courts, 7,500 square foot athletic training center, and much more. So this was something that I remember us talking about last summer. It passed, and there was a $48 million development incentive package to help make way for the project. This despite the fact that there was a lot of pushback from people in the area, neighborhood, resident folks who were like, hey, this is going to completely change this part of Lee's Summit. We're not a fan. But it went through, as most of these deals typically do, right? And there's always an incentive that's usually built in. Well, now there's more to the story. I had a couple of listeners share this with me, and that this firm is now wanting to add to the project. So before the project is broken ground, they are going back to the city council to request a waiver to the recent zoning changes. And they want to allow construction of a massive seasonal inflatable dome over an outdoor soccer field. Now, as I noted, there's already an indoor soccer field that has been approved as part of the project. So they want to add to it. So the dome would be 60 feet in height, require a waiver of the 40-foot height restriction that's currently in this commercial zoning area of Lee's Summit. So we're talking about a 50% increase on the current existing zoning limit. So this is a blatant example of what many would call project creep, where already the city council bends over backwards for a developer. They give away a ton of incentives. And now, after the project gets approved, they say, hey, by the way, what can we add to this? How can we make this even more favorable to us? Do you think, just ask yourself, do you think that the company magically was like, it would be great? It would be great if we also added a dome, an inflatable dome during the winter time over this outdoor soccer field. Or do you think this was part of the plan? Get what we can, and then once we're in progress, let's try to get more. I believe it's the latter. So you have residents in the area who are now strongly objecting to this. They have filed petitions with the city. They're trying to fight it. And the application was previously heard by the City Planning Commission and was unanimously denied. So the developer has pushed forward for a city council vote where it punted back to the Planning Commission, who again unanimously denied it. But the developer has the right and has pursued another vote coming up at the March City Council meeting next week. So the Lee's Summit City Council hopefully will hold strong on this. Remember, they've got a mayor's race coming up here in a couple of weeks as well. So this is the kind of stuff that can play a big role in what's happening on the local level with projects and redevelopment and rezoning and things like that. So this is something that if you're out there in Lee's Summit is happening, I at least want you to be aware of. And even if it's not in your neighborhood, because here's the problem, right? When these things go up, people say, whew, oh boy, at least it wasn't by me. At least it wasn't in my backyard. At least the brand new apartment complex or whatever isn't near me, so I'm not going to really worry about it. Well, this is an example of how Lee's Summit and really any community should come together on these things. And even if it's not in your backyard, if the entire city and residents across the board stand up instead of just the neighborhoods and say, listen, guys, this is not just about this neighborhood or that neighborhood. This is about all of us saying, if this was my backyard, I do not want a 60-foot seasonally domed indoor soccer field in my backyard. And some of you will call that, NIMBYism, not in my backyard, whatever. Call it whatever you want. But you know what? Most people would come to that same conclusion. And I'm hoping that because even the Planning Commission, and it's very rare for the Planning Commission in any of these cities to say no to a developer. It's very rare. I mean, you don't see it on either side of state line. But even the Planning Commission in Lee Summit has said no to this inflatable dome out there. So that's a good sign. Typically, the city council just goes along with the Planning Commission because it's an easy way for them to say, well, the Planning Commission said yes, so we're just going to go along with the Planning Commission because that's their area of expertise. That's the game that gets played here. So the fact that the Planning Commission in Lee Summit has said no to this gives me optimism, but never say never. Because as we see, these city councils will more or less do whatever developers want them to do. And hopefully that's not the case next week in Lee Summit. Coming up on KCMO, it was the funniest moment of the week, and you don't want to miss it next. You can't make this stuff up, man. You just can't. It's too good. 8:04, good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. Frank Bowl will be here in studio 1 hour from now for our Feature Friday conversation. As we sit here on day 2 of the NCAA tournament, we'll have some fun with Frank, talk about his years covering sports in Kansas City and getting set for the NCAA tournament. And he just so happens to be a Villanova Wildcat as well. So how about that? Can't wait. Got KU tonight, Mizzou tonight, and Villanova this afternoon. So President Trump is sitting down with the Japanese Prime Minister yesterday. And you know what? 85 years later, no one in American history would have dared said what President Trump said in front of Japanese media and in front of the Japanese Prime Minister, Sanae Takachi, when he said this after being asked by a member of the Japanese press, hey, why didn't you give your allies more of a heads up as to what you were going to do in Iran?
In Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran. So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right? You know, he's asking me, no, you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us. And we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out, the first 2 days, we probably knocked out 50% of what and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right?
Who knows better about surprises than Japan?
Boy, he leaned into Japan, didn't he, when he said it?
Oh, my gosh. That is so good. You know, the memes were running wild yesterday, too. I like this one. It was, hey, Grandpa, my Japanese girlfriend's coming over to the house. Please don't start with your stuff. And then my Japanese grandpa with the appetizers.
Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
I mean,
right?
Listen, this is the kind of stuff that, yes, it's funny. And I know it's so embarrassing. No, he's making a point here, which is when it comes to top military operations, you trust the fact that you've got the best in the world and that you're doing something out of surprise. And in 2026, it's very hard to keep a secret. You're trying to take out the leadership of the Ayatollah and telling the world about it, even if it's your allies, knowing full well some of your supposed allies actually don't want you to succeed. You're not going to do that. But to use the reference to Pearl Harbor on the spot, oh my goodness, the face of the Japanese Prime Minister, by the way, she was pretty good at keeping the poker face, but you could tell that she was like, oh my gosh, he just went there. My folks were actually in Japan for the first time earlier this year, and they said the one thing that is very evident when you go to Japan, they do not want to talk about Pearl Harbor. They are embarrassed. They are ashamed. They still feel a level of disgrace due to Pearl Harbor because, you know, my dad was, I guess, kind of doing the Trump thing. So what's the deal with Pearl Harbor around here? And like the tour guides, the people, they want no part of it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to act like it never happened, and largely out of shame. They want absolutely nothing to do with it. So for the biggest moment on the world stage for Japan, which is obviously when they come to the White House, for the president to bring this up, I don't have an issue with it. I'm just giving you their perspective in terms of how they perceive it. It's a shameful moment. Now, the president still has a very good relationship with Japan. It goes back to the Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who was the guy during his first term who ended up getting assassinated. But if you see this Japanese Prime Minister, when she got out of her vehicle yesterday at the White House and Trump greets her, she jumped into his arms. We talk about how all these allies don't like us, and you know, some of them are just offended by Trump, which whatever, who cares? She's jumping into his arms. There's a very good relationship there. Now, on the world stage, Japan is a shell of what it used to be. they really just don't have the economic might or certainly the military might that they used to have. But I thought it was interesting that yesterday you did have a bunch of American allies finally step to the plate and sign a statement saying that they will, in fact, contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, is the reason that we're seeing these massive price spikes in oil. Because, the Iranians don't have much left, but what they can do is cause chaos in the Strait of Hormuz, and that is obviously where a lot of the oil is brought through that feeds the rest of the world. So you're seeing these global spikes happen. So the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, and Japan all signing on, and then Canada signed on afterwards. Canada, as usual, freeloading on the back end after the letter goes out, saying, oh, yeah, don't forget about us. Now, they haven't made it clear what exactly they're going to do, but at least they're coming to the table. And this has been one of the most gratifying parts of Trump during his first term and then also during his second term. Even if you don't love some of his policies, can you at least admit that it feels good when this guy finally says what many Americans feel as it relates to our relationship and our funding of the protection of the West? And not that we shouldn't do it. I mean, being the world superpower and being the freest and greatest nation in the history of mankind does come with responsibility. And there's a price tag that comes along with it. But the lack of gratitude, the inability for these countries to by and large be grateful to us and what we've done, either directly or indirectly, to protect these countries from absolute ruin. Dumping hundreds of billions of dollars into Ukrainian war, which was fairly controversial at times back here at home, to stop the Russians from marching west. It just seems like these countries, there is no gratefulness at all. And I'm sick of it. And I think many people are as well. Even if you can't stand Trump, just take a step back and say, are you sick of it? Are you tired of it? And Trump's the one guy in the last 60 years to basically call them out for their freeloading and call them out for their inability to step to the plate when we want them to. And that feels damn good, John.
Well, I'm with you there, and I have been to France in the last, 5 or 6 years, and I can't say in the 10 days I was there was reference to America's effort in World War II there. So I would say that this, like when we're stuck and Biden's representing our opinion out there, not everybody in the nation feels that way about it. It's the leadership sometimes.
Yes. Yes, you're right about that. It's maybe not the regular folks, but it is certainly leadership.
Absolutely.
And there's too many of these folks who end up in leadership. You know, that's the problem. They get elected for a reason. Part of that is like, hey, an anti-Trump sentiment or mentality, and they perceive us to be a bunch of rubes here in the United States. Well, who's backing up your rear end if the world goes to hell in a handbasket? Okay, we're going to be the first call that you make. It's like that guy in your group of friends who never pays for a round of beers. We all know who that guy is, right? It kind of becomes a running joke inside of your group of friends. Oh, we know Bob's never picking up the tab tonight. He's not getting around. He just kind of hopes everybody else gets around. And then by the time it's the first guy's turn again, Bob gets skipped over.
Go to the restroom.
Yep, gotta hit the head. Sorry, guys.
Anybody see where the phone is? Right?
Yeah, here's the difference, though. We got a bunch of those Bobs all over the world in the West. Bunch of them. They never want to pick up the tab. They never want to step to the plate. They never want to put their money where their mouth is. But they're happy to let their rich friend do it. And then, to make matters worse, not only won't they pick up the tab, they'll then get pissed if you ask them to pay for a round when they haven't bought a round in years. I mean, that's the worst kind of friend you can have. And we've got a lot of that going on around the world right now. And finally, someone's calling them out, and I'm here for it. Kevin's in Overland Park. What's up, Kev?
Hey, Pete. That was awesome yesterday. I was first just started cracking up. The question itself is like, what a doofus for asking that type of question. I know we're laughing about it, and then Trump responds is like, man, that was a mic drop moment for sure. And you're right about the other nations around the world. I mean, when Trump was calling it all out with NATO and countries not giving their percentage of GDP and so on, and we're doing the heavy lifting on that. It's like, yeah, I'm tired of it for sure.
Well, here's the other thing, Kevin. The reporters, who ask these questions, they still get caught off guard because they think Trump's going to give them a politician's answer. And then he just sticks it right to him. Because that guy, he was a Japanese reporter. Why not tell us about your plans as an ally? Oh, like you told us, guy? Come on now. He just stuck it right to him. And the fact that he could do that on the fly, I mean, the fact that listen, disagree with Trump all you want, say you don't like the policies, that's fine. But the notion that people think like Trump's got some cognitive decline when on the fly, he thinks of that answer to that reporter. Do you realize how quick you have to be to come up with that right there? To go the Pearl Harbor route on the fly? I mean, if you really think like Trump's losing it, no, that is sharp. To turn that phrase that quickly like that and stick it to that reporter, and by the way, the rest of the world in the process, sorry. The last guy ain't doing that. You know that, and I know that.
What are we talking about?
8:15 on a Friday morning. Good morning. Thanks for being here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We are streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Buy, sell, hold at the end of this hour on 95.7 FM. Do not miss that. Hey, I saw this yesterday on Fox News' website. One of the most prominent steakhouses is bringing back dress codes. I'm here for it. How about you? Next.
The fun's not done after Mundo in the Morning. Hey, it's Kevin Keatsman. Join me for Uncanceled at 10 o'clock right here on KCMO Talk Radio.
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse is back in the news here. Not for anything new, but for something that they have been doing for quite some time. But on social media, it started to pick up steam again. It's believed to be because they are starting to enforce or maybe reinforce their business casual dress code, of which I have absolutely no problem with. So Fox News has the story here. Popular steakhouse's dress code sparks backlash as diners told to ditch hats or eat at the bar. Well, by the way, that's awfully nice of them. Basically, take your hat off, and if you don't want to do that, well, you can eat at the bar. They could tell you to just go home or take the hat off or leave it in your car. They're just saying you're going to have to sit at the bar if you're going to wear a hat. Now, I know Mark Van Sickle will not like that because Mark is never without a hat. But even Mark knows, and Mark's out today, even Mark knows when he's got clients here, we're going to an event. I mean, Mark will take off the hat. He'll make his hair look halfway decent. So even Mark knows, as a hat guy, you got to play by the rules sometimes.
Yeah,
That's
he's
it.
not disguising pattern baldness or anything.
No.
He just likes hats. He's got everything.
He just likes
retros, current, city-wides.
Mark likes free hats, most importantly. All right? I don't think he's paid for a hat yet in Kansas City. He's just a hat man.
I don't know that he paid full price for anything that he's got there. He works it.
He works it very well.
Working it.
He works it very well. So Ruth's Chris drawing fresh attention for its business casual dress code, requiring proper attire with diners who don't comply relegated to the bar. Now, the website has stated this for a long time. Kindly remove all hats when entering the restaurant. Guests wearing ball caps are asked to dine in the bar or the lounge. The following attire is not permitted in our dining rooms: gym wear, pool attire, tank tops, clothing with offensive graphics or language, revealing clothing or exposed undergarments. That might hurt you, John, but, we'll worry about that another
Sagging,
time.
yeah.
I know. Recent reports have framed the move as a crackdown, but the policy has appeared on the restaurant's website for years. This suggests the current debate at Ruth's Chris may be driven more by recent enforcement and viral social media discussion than some kind of new rule. What's the case against this? I'm genuinely curious. What's the case against Ruth's Chris saying, hey, if you wear a hat, we're not going to kick you out. You just have to sit at the bar. How presumptuous, how arrogant, how entitled do you have to be against this? No, it's my right to come into your establishment and sit there at the restaurant with a hat on. Because there was a lot of it on social media, people saying, oh, Ruth's Chris is like a high-end Applebee's. Whatever it is, you don't have to like it, then go dine somewhere else.
Exactly.
If you think it's a high-end Applebee's, then why are you going there and paying those prices and getting ripped off if that's what you think of it?
Get you a hat that says high-end Applebee's and go to the bar.
Yes,
right?
yes.
You can do that.
Yes, that's exactly right. Own them, okay? Own them. If you think it's that bad. But you know what? You know who's getting the last laugh then? They're still getting the last laugh because you're paying them money.
Because it ain't Applebee's prices.
Exactly right. It's not Applebee's prices. It's not. 913-408-7957. I mean, listen, I know we've got restaurant owners and business owners around Kansas City locked in. And I think that we've accepted the way that society has changed and people don't dress like they used to. Now, listen, I'll try to dress up if Kate and I go out and it's a nice dinner. I'll wear something nice as I should. And it's not just out of respect to the restaurant. It's out of respect to her. Don't you want to look halfway decent for the people that you're going to be around? Same thing at the office. I'm not saying that I'm dressed to the nines today. I've just got on a Villanova shirt and a Villanova zip up. So I'm all Villanova decked out today. I'm a little dressed down compared to normal, but you try to dress decently because you want people to respect you too. I mean, at least when you're doing something like going out to a nice dinner, meeting a client, don't you want that, even if we've lost it to some degree, John?
Well, it's a notion that perhaps a brand new hat is dressing up, though. And so you can't question some people about their attire. It becomes such a big issue and such a scene and a hassle that even though that rule has probably always been there, they laxed the enforcement of it just because it causes such a scene.
Maybe that's true.
I think.
And I also don't envy the person who has to tell the person you've got a hat on, you're sitting at the bar.
Right. And so you don't,
Maybe you don't. But you know what? If they've got the rule, you got to enforce it. If not, why have the rule? Pete, this is on the text line. As a former chef of high-end restaurants, to me, behavior matters more than dress codes. Most chefs don't give a darn about what you're wearing as long as you're respectful. Now, I respect that take, but once again, you're the chef. You're not interacting with the people, mostly. So I understand what you're saying there, that behavior matters more than dress, but why can't it be both? You can't judge somebody based on their behavior before they enter a restaurant. What are you going to get recommendations on the people wanting to go to the restaurant before you allow them to book a reservation? You can't do that, right? So you can't control the behavior. Would we like the behavior to be better? I think that across American culture, we have a behavior issue.
Maybe the implication is just because you're dressed well doesn't mean you behave well.
That's fine.
That would be the converse thing there.
Yes, I would agree with that.
But we're trying to link the bad dresses with the bad behavior. That's usually comes part and parcel altogether.
It can. You're right about that. There's no doubt about it. But I'm also sitting here thinking to myself, well, I can't control someone's behavior. I don't know how they're going to behave when they walk into my restaurant. But if there's a look I'm going for, I'm allowed to implement it. Ruth's Chris is allowed to implement that look. And there should be nothing controversial about it. On the text line, Pete, dressing up for church is also important. Oh, you're going to open up Pandora's box. You're going to open up Pandora's box with church dress codes. Don't do it. Don't do it. I won't go there. I'm going on to something else. Oh, my goodness. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio, 95.7 FM. We are streaming all morning long right here on the KCMO Talk Radio app on a Friday morning. What do we know about what happened at a park in Olathe yesterday where a woman was randomly cut? That is coming up next.
Vince Colonnese here. Join me for your lunch hour from 11 to 2 on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
So here's what we know. Man's in custody after investigators say he walked up to a woman at Two Trails Park in Olathe and cut her face yesterday afternoon. So this was just off of Ridgeview. Olathe Police Department got the call just after noon, and the reports were of an armed disturbance. When the officers arrived, they reported finding a 38-year-old woman with a serious injury consistent with a stabbing. So, it was weird because there was no information on who this man was. And all of Kansas City media is reporting a man. And my initial reaction is, okay, is this person illegal? And the reason I thought that is because we saw this a few weeks ago here in Kansas City, when they just reported a man. And I'm like, what are they hiding? Maybe that's me just having skepticism, but that's where my head went right away. Because they've done this before. They've protected and covered up by saying a man. And I'm like, okay, what's really going on here? So then I look on the Johnson County Sheriff's Department website, and I matched the arrest date and time just after noon yesterday to the birthday that was given on local media, 27-year-old guy. And I'm like, okay, I'm matching this to someone named, reportedly, allegedly, Quan Tresvant, who was taken in yesterday in Olathe, arrested at 12:15, booked at about 7 p.m. And here's the other part that threw me off. On the Johnson County Sheriff's website, it says, under the charge description, it says murder first degree. And this was also the only arrest from yesterday that did not have a mugshot attached to it on the Johnson County website. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Is this woman dead? And I start reaching out to folks in law enforcement to try to get a read on what's happening. And what I know is that it was a serious injury, but it was not a life-threatening injury. And thank goodness this woman is going to make a full recovery. So I don't know why the sheriff's office lists the charge description as murder in the first degree, but in talking to multiple sources this morning, the woman is going to be okay. She will make a full recovery. The stabbings were not life-threatening, but for some reason on the website at the sheriff's office, it says the charge was murder in the first degree. So I'm going to assume that this is going to be an attempted murder charge. And maybe they can't fit that into the description, but that's kind of an important part of the description, attempted versus just first-degree murder. So, and there's no mugshot here for the guy. Now, I did look up this individual, and he had been arrested a couple of times over the last couple of years in Olathe for more minor misdemeanor charges and drug possession and things like that. So he has a rap sheet, but nothing like this. And according to the report and in talking to people in law enforcement, what we do know at this point, and what I do know, there's a lot of false information on social media. This was not some kind of attempted kidnapping, which has been making the rounds. It was a random and completely unprovoked attack by this 27-year-old against this 38-year-old woman. So whether this is someone who is dealing with serious mental health issues, I can't sit here and say that this is like a soft on crime issue in Johnson County, because Steve Howe is a great DA. And I mean, he doesn't let criminals slide in Johnson County. It was very important that he won his reelection bid a couple of years ago, and he did by the skin of his teeth. And that is a good thing for Johnson County. But, this guy did have a bit of a criminal history, but certainly nothing like this and what happened yesterday in Olathe that he's alleged to have been involved with. So that's what we know beyond just the headlines you're seeing. And I hear, listen, I'm checking out other radio around Kansas City in the morning before I get on the air at 6, and it's amazing that so many of these people are just news readers now. I mean, that's what they do on these other stations. They don't actually dig beyond, well, this is what Channel 9 says. Here's the report from KMBC. Now, I get it. Sometimes we all do that, but have some curiosity. Do a little digging. And I'm not a reporter necessarily, but, you develop some sources. You try to get some more information beyond what local news is giving you on TV. So that's what I know right now. The woman is going to be okay. why the Johnson County Sheriff's Office lists a first-degree murder charge when it appears to be attempted, I don't know. But as soon as I get an answer after reaching out to people, I will let you know here on KCMO. Buy, sell, hold is a few minutes away. So I saw this story from the New York Post, and I thought to myself, is there a worse person in the world to resemble right now? Like, who's the one person right now? John and Garner, I'll ask you guys this. There's not a wrong answer here. But if there's one person right now in the world that you would not want to look like, just throw out a name. Who would it be? If there's one person you said to yourself, I don't want to look like that guy. There's not a wrong answer. You can say Trump, by the way, because if you looked like Trump and you were walking down the streets on like Metcalf, you probably would get heckled by people. So don't think there's think there's a wrong answer to any of this. It's not about who you like or don't like. But who's the one person you would not want to look like right now, or someone you would not want to look like right now walking around somewhere in this country? Garner, does anyone come to mind for you? I'm stumping John here.
It is. It's weird. I'm going through too many things.
Okay. Garner, just throw something out there for me, guys. Give me a name. Between the two of you, give me one.
Like Biden.
Biden. All right, Garner.
Okay, I don't know about looking like, but I do have a friend who is named Jeffrey Epstein. Okay. And he gets a lot of crap on social media. Completely different guy, mind you. Completely different guy.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, that's the answer, by the way. It's Jeffrey Epstein. That is the answer. So good on you. There's a man in Florida who is going viral. Florida man who looks exactly like Jeffrey Epstein. And he is going viral for all the wrong reasons. Conspiracies are running rampant, saying Jeffrey Epstein is alive. The problem is he's not Jeffrey Epstein. He calls himself Palm Beach Pete, is what he calls himself. The problem is he's a dead ringer for Jeffrey Epstein. He's now putting out videos of himself saying, I'm not Epstein. I'm Palm Beach Pete. And he's bragging about the fact that he's not Epstein. Here's the problem. The hair is identical to Jeffrey Epstein. He's got those gray locks, over the ears, combed to the side. It's like, dude, you at least have to shave your head. You can't say everyone thinks I look like Jeffrey Epstein when you literally not only look like him facially, but you got the same hairdo as the guy. Same hair. I mean, dye your hair. He's got gray hair, and I'm not a dye your hair kind of guy. I mean, I'm sitting here in my late 30s, and my 3 kids are making me grow gray hairs on the side of my head. So I'm not an anti-gray hair guy or anything like that. I don't discriminate against gray hair. I'm just saying you got to shave your head. You got to color your hair. You got to do something. If you just happen to look like Jeffrey Epstein, there's not a worse person, I would say, on the planet to resemble right now other than Jeffrey Epstein. And if you do, you have to do something about it. Unless he's playing 3D chess.
I wouldn't cultivate the look for sure. Right?
No way. Not a chance, man. So if you want to Google Palm Beach Pete and see this guy, and I'll pop him up on the social media channels as well. You can see it there because I'm telling you, especially from the side, like the profile, he is just a dead ringer for Jeffrey Epstein.
Chin, so growing a goatee or anything wouldn't help you at all, right?
That's a good point. He does have the Epstein chin.
That big chin.
Yes.
Trying to cover that with hair would be a little conspicuous. Then you'd look really creepy, I would think.
Yeah, you know what? Because then you would look like, hey, it's Jeffrey Epstein.
With the beard.
Yes, with the beard. So it's a fine line. You have to make yourself not look like Epstein, but you can't make yourself look like Epstein trying to cover up the fact that you look like Epstein.
That's a tough one.
That is a very tough dilemma for Palm Beach Pete. And the fact that this guy lives in Florida, he should at least move to North Dakota or something.
Just get a shirt that says, yeah, I know. Right?
There's something wrong with them.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good. We'll get to buy, sell, hold coming up here on KCMO Talk Radio. 3 questions as we take you up until 9:30 or 10 o'clock when Keatsman takes over. Frank Bowl is going to be here at 9 for our Feature Friday conversation on 95.7 FM. We're streaming, as always, on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Now, what's going on here with my friends over at Hy-Vee? Well, maybe running over there today. Grab a couple of steaks for dinner. We'll see. But when you think about loving pizza, Hy-Vee, very underrated as well when it comes to the pizza. Take and bake, ready to eat. Hy-Vee Pizza does it as well as anyone in town. Do not miss the Pizza Palooza this Saturday, tomorrow, March 21st, one day only. Get a 14-inch single-topping pizza plus a free 2-liter bottle of Pepsi Mountain Dew for just $5. You heard that right, by the way. And you can only buy 6 per person in case you want to be a total pig about it. It's Pizza Palooza this Saturday only at Hy-Vee.
from the nation's heartland. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
8:49. Good morning. Great to have you here. Happy Friday. It's going to be summer-like in Kansas City. We'll be setting a record today. High 80s. Not really a fan of that. I mean, I didn't like 32 on Monday, but I really don't care for 87 today either. Can I get something in between, please? Is that too much to ask? All right, let's do it.
It's time to buy, sell,
Have it at 12 and a half, 15.
and hold.
All right, John, buy, sell, hold on a Friday morning. What's on the rundown, man?
All right. Buy, sell, or hold. Mayor Quentin Lucas should be offended. The Reverend Al Sharpton called him Quentin Perry.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Should he be offended? I'm gonna sell that, and here's why. The fact that Al Sharpton even put up a photo on his social media of Quentin Lucas, despite calling him Quentin Perry, is something that, he should look at as a positive. He could have shaken the man's hand, said, "Nice to see you, Mr. Mayor." They sat next to each other at this event yesterday in Kansas City on behalf of the KC Urban League, and that would be that. So Al put up the photo of Mayor Lucas and himself, and, he called him Quentin Perry. It happens,
Show some RESPICT.
But it would be nice if he would show a little respect for the Kansas City mayor and get his name right, or tell his social media manager to get the mayor's name right, because something tells me Al Sharpton is not posting his own stuff on his Instagram. The guy, I couldn't believe it. I went to Al Sharpton's Instagram when I saw that he called Quentin Lucas Quentin Perry, and he spelled Quentin. Like, how many different ways can you spell Quentin? He got 2 letters wrong in Quentin. It's Quiton, right? That's Quentin Lucas. Now, I get it if you get the I wrong for an E or the O in Quentin wrong for an I or an E. He got 2 letters wrong, or whoever posted this got 2 letters wrong. This person spelled it Quetin. 2 letters in Quentin wrong, and then calling him Quentin Perry. What do you get? Where do you get Quentin Perry from anyway? Who was on their mind?
I was trying to do that. Like, what kind of Perry's fill in number one?
I don't know.
Oddly enough, the band Perry will be at Hot Summer Nights down at the Power Light District this summer. So that came up, and I'm thinking Luke Perry.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I have to go clear back to Jim and Gaylord Perry, the brothers that pitched in the major leagues. Gaylord that threw the spitballs and stuff.
I was thinking of Tyler Perry.
Tyler Perry.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who else really came to mind for me.
Or it's an auto fill, and maybe the person knows someone named Quentin Perry.
Maybe that's
Steve Perry.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Steve, sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of them out there, but I was like, wow, it's a tough look. But if you're Mayor Lucas, you take the win that Al Sharpton posted a photo of you and him, and do with that what you want. All right? Don't let it ruin your weekend, Mr. Mayor. That's all I got. What's next?
All right. Buy, sell, or hold. Daylight standard time is the way to go.
Daylight standard time? You mean saving time?
No. I am suggesting that you would be pro daylight standard time, correct?
Just standard time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no daylight.
Daylight.
Okay.
Yeah. Standard time. So the question is buy, sell, or hold. Standard time is the way to go.
Okay. How quickly can I buy that? Yes, absolutely. There are health benefits to staying on standard time. We don't need it light out until 9 o'clock. Okay? Wake up with the sun. Go to sleep when the sun goes down. If you want to stay up later, that's your prerogative. But we artificially manufacture more daylight at the end of the day, which then makes people stay up later, which is less healthy. And considering we have a major health crisis in this country, it would seem to me we should do everything in our power to try to give people the opportunity to be healthier. And one of the ways to do that is to go on permanent standard time and drop the springing forward, drop daylight saving time, and never go back to it. We should fall back this year and never go back, never spring forward. And there's a bill in Kansas right now that is being considered that would get rid of daylight saving time. But the catch is Missouri would have to do it for it to become law. And that's a big ask. But the fact that it's even being talked about, Tennessee is also considering a bill right now to get rid of daylight saving time. So I'm all in on standard time. I'm done springing forward. You'll still get your long days. You know, people are always like, well, I like the longer days. No, your day is not longer. We're just shifting when the daylight is up and when it's going down. The day is not technically longer.
It just appears to be longer.
Yes, it appears to be longer.
Magic.
Yeah, it's exactly. But there's not more sunlight when we move the clocks forward. We're just shifting when the clocks are, rising and when the sun's going down.
I 100% agree with you.
Oh!
I hate shifting time.
Yes.
It's such a pain. Just get rid of it.
But
actually, I think Trump at one point said that he was going to look into doing that.
Well, Trump wants to have permanent daylight saving time.
Oh,
yes.
Well, you know what? I would settle for that.
No.
I just hate changing.
Okay, so you hate the change, and a lot of people hate the change. But permanent daylight saving time means what? Means the sun's coming up at 8 a.m. in Kansas City in the dead of winter.
No, I agree with you though. That's the way that if I got to pick, I would
stay
choose
with
what
standard.
You want.
Yeah,
you'd stay with standard.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
All right, Garner. Well, you can continue to work here then. Good job.
You may return next week. Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, Garner doing a great job filling in for Mark this morning. John, what's last?
Buy, sell, or hold. High Point Student Broadcasters NCAA tournament call.
So High Point got an upset in the NCAA tournament yesterday against Wisconsin, and this student radio team went viral for the call. And everyone's like, these guys are awesome. This was a great call. I'm selling this. I don't want to be a wet blanket, but this was actually a really bad radio call because you don't know what's going on. It's just a lot of screaming, which kind of works on TV when you can see what's happening, but it's not a good radio call.
To Anderson, driving, step back. In circles now, Johnson catch and shoot. That's what they needed. Timeout. Timeout. Portland. Do you believe it? Here comes Johnson. For the layup. Takes it inbound.
Okay, I mean,
there was a call in there somewhere.
I mean, I know it's hard to hear because of the crowd noise, but when you listen back to it, it's a terrible call. You're doing a radio call. You have to tell me what's happening. Hey, it's Jones from the right wing. Bang! High Point goes up 1 point with 35 seconds to go. You have to do that on radio. You can't just scream on radio. Now, you can kind of scream on the back end of the call, but you have to be descriptive in radio. It's not TV where you can just do the Gus Johnson and start going, rah, rah, I mean, Gus Johnson made a career screaming, but it's not good radio. That's all I got. Frank Bowl in studio is next. It is a feature Friday on KCMO Talk Radio. No one better than Frank Bowl, of course, longtime Kansas City sportscaster, still doing a great podcast that you can find on YouTube. There's just something about Kansas City. And he's got his Villanova gear on this morning, as do I. 50 years in the business you're celebrating, Frank. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Pete. Thanks for having me in. Dragged the old man in early, out of bed. Try to find my way around over here. What are they doing, shutting the streets off?
Wait.
We're trying to confuse the old guy or what?
Dragging the old man. I thought you guys wake up at like 3 a.m. on your,
No, not this guy.
Not that you're a sleep-in kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm sort of a sleeping guy, which is weird. It's unusual.
Now, are you one of these guys that's up till like midnight or 1 in the morning, or no? You just sleep in.
No, probably 11.
Wow,
11-ish, which is weird. But we always read when we first go to bed and all that sort of thing. We'll watch the news.
Yeah,
we'll go to bed.
Well, you look great.
Thanks, buddy. I feel
you look
good.
great. Good. Feel good. You look good. You've obviously covered sports in this town for 50 years. We're getting ready for the NCAA tournament. KU's playing tonight. Mizzou's playing tonight. When you think back on all your years of covering sports in this town, where does this tournament, this time of year, and our local team stack up with like great memories in Kansas City sports for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest, I know Kansas has won their share of NCAA tournaments. I think the big year was 88, when Kansas won at the Kemper. They beat Oklahoma, and it was a terrific basketball game, and just up and down. It was just a great basketball game. It was in Kansas City. Kansas won it. They beat one of their rivals from the Big 8, Big 12 type, Big 8 then. So I think that was maybe one of the highlights as far as all the local people in town are concerned. Now, I know they covered other championships, but they were in other cities as well for the University of Kansas. We all know that poor Mizzou, they've never been to a Final Four, so that's been a problem with them. And K-State's had their runs in college basketball, and I think there's a tremendous basketball tradition here in Kansas City, which I didn't know about until I got here back in 1981. I didn't realize how big it was, despite the fact we did not have a team here, a college basketball team here. Lawrence is right down the highway, and Mizzou and K-State, they're close, but nobody is here. So that was a situation just not my.
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll take care of you. We'll take care of you.
No problem.
So with that being the case, you talk about the history of college basketball. We've got the Hall of Fame sitting right next to T-Mobile, right?
Yeah.
We've got the Big 12 tournament. We've got the NAIA tournament going on right now at Municipal. There is a history here for the sport that probably doesn't get a lot of attention around the country. Is there a way that you think Kansas City can highlight that better?
I don't think so. I think I don't think they can because they don't have a team.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can highlight it any better anyway because of the fact that, keeping a tournament here all these years and Kathy Nelson doing, we've heard the saber rattling about moving it to Vegas. And, let's do that. That'd be the dumbest thing ever. And nobody going to Vegas. Vegas is dying as far as I'm concerned. When you have all this online gambling stuff, I think Vegas is
I think
just on
here's
a
what I think.
downward slope.
If the Big 12 went to Vegas, I think the first couple of years would be big because people who have never been to Vegas, who are fans of their team, would go for like a year to be like, all right, I'll watch my team and I'll check out Vegas. But I think after a couple of years, it would lose its luster. That's what I think would ultimately happen.
Oh, I agree, too. Yeah,
I
totally agree.
And then here, you've got built-in audiences with KU and Iowa State. I mean, they
Kelly's might go out of business if Iowa State doesn't show up.
Iowa State, if we lose Iowa State fans, I'm telling you what, Power and Light's already getting subsidized by the taxpayer. They would have to double that subsidy if Iowa State fans aren't here drinking their Busch Light.
That's exactly right.
They come down here for spring break. So you're right. It's a big part of the Kansas City culture. And, KU's kind of viewed as that team. But Mizzou still has good basketball history. I know they haven't, gotten to a Final Four, but I think they're on the upswing. They got a huge recruiting class coming in next year. We'll see how they play tonight and what that looks like. But it would be great to have Mizzou basketball being pretty darn good again, even though they're not in the Big 12 anymore, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah, right. And I remember years when I was working at Channel 4 in 41 where we'd have to send crews to 3 places because you'd have Kansas, Kansas State, and Missouri all in the NCAA tournament. And I think it'd be important. Now Missouri has left. Of course, obviously, they're in the SEC now. But I think it would be very important for all their fan bases here in Kansas City for the 3 of them to bring it all back. K-State's got a new coach now, and they're going to try to get their act together a little bit, and we'll see how that happens. But if Mizzou can win today,
Yeah.
be great to play, to move on to the next round and just see if they face Purdue. That'd be great. They're playing in St. Louis.
Yeah.
They've played on that court before. I
Yeah.
mean, come on now. Let's crank it up and go.
Frank Bowl, longtime Kansas City sportscaster, is joining us on a feature Friday on KCMO. Of course, NCAA tournament. Everyone's excited about that. Today's the first day of spring. This is always, to me, the unofficial start of spring. And today, it just happens to be the first day of real spring as well. The old Big Eight, I hear from, and I like talking to people who lived through that, covered that, experienced that. They'll say that the old Big Eight was the best college basketball conference, maybe along with the old Big East. You go back to the 80s and 90s as a Villanova guy.
Yeah.
But that old Big Eight, when you think about college hoops, the rivalries between teams and coaches, just how good was it?
Oh, it was awesome. It was just incredible. I mean, you had Billy Tubbs, you had Norm Stewart, you had Roy Williams. I mean, it was great. I forget, I'm blanking right now. I can see him. He was fantastic, that guy at Iowa State for years. My brain's fried at the moment. But he was great, too. Their quotes, I mean, the guys just would say anything off the top. Billy Tubbs.
Or.
Yeah, Johnny Orr.
Yeah, there
Johnny
you go.
Orr. Thank you very
John
much.
John Anthony's writing the name through the window there. Look at him.
Johnny Orr. I mean, they were just terrific, I can remember Billy Tubbs one time. He lost to Kansas at KU, which happens to a lot of people. And we're in trying to get an interview, and he's all dressed, and now he's walking out, and we're all going, Billy. He says, "You guys better start talking. Better start asking questions, because as soon as I hit that door, I'm on a bus and I'm out of here." And then sit down, Norm.
Yeah.
The chant at Allen Fieldhouse was always terrific, and they gave him a rocking chair when he retired and put him in the middle of the court, so it was pretty interesting.
That's
just
fantastic.
it was. There were characters then.
Well, characters, that's the word, right? I mean, it was just, you just don't get that.
Yeah.
Everything's so much more corporate and buttoned up, and there's a reason for that. But the characters that you got at that time, as someone who, was a little kid for it but didn't really have any memory of it, it just seems like it's unlike what we get today in the college sports landscape, which is very corporatized and much more buttoned up.
Yeah, it is. I think it's really a shame, and I know we're Villanova guys, so when Jay Wright stepped down, I think the two leading voices in college basketball were Bill Self and Jay Wright. I mean, they were the guys, when you had an interview with those guys, they told you something.
Yeah.
It wasn't coach speak, because they were very, they felt very safe in their own skin. They just felt very, I can say what I want. I know I'm a good basketball coach. I know we're doing great things. I'm not arrogant. I'm just going to tell you exactly the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, you just don't see that from hardly any coaches anymore.
Well, they were kind of like the de facto commissioners in the sport that didn't have it.
And I think they're both worried about the NIL and transfer portal, and that's why Jay got out. Jay got out. He was 61 years old.
Yeah.
He's only 64 now.
Yeah.
He still works at Villanova. He's a fundraiser now. But the deal is he was a young guy still, for all practical purposes. Great basketball teams, recruiting great. But the NIL and the transfer portal just did not sync with him. He said, look, I'd like to get my kids in here as freshmen. I teach them what the Villanova atmosphere is all about, what our what our game plan is, who we are, not just on the court, but in the classroom, whatever. And those days are gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Well, to his credit, he saw what was coming, and he said, I want no part of it.
Nope.
And I think that Bill Self has struggled with this era, even though he's got like a Darren Peterson. You can't coach these guys like you used to, because they can walk out the door. And I think that's difficult for some of the old school guys still hanging around. And like you said, a lot of them have left the sport. They knew what was coming. Now, Jay Wright left earlier than a lot of these guys would have at 61, but they just said, this is not the sport I wanted to be a part of, and I'm done and I'm out. And to his credit, he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and Bill Self has a coaching philosophy too, and I think his philosophy was a lot like Jay's. Get my kids in here as freshmen. We train them. I teach them to play defense. I get them prepared if they look like they're going to be professionals. I get them prepared to play professional basketball, and now it's in and out. The fans don't get to know the kids.
Well, think about a guy like Melvin Council. I mean, KU fans love that guy, and he went Wagner, St. Bonaventure, now KU. but he's done. I mean, you get 1 year of Melvin Council, and that's the kind of kid who, if he had been here 4 years, he'd be a fan favorite right up there with Frank Mason and guys like that.
He'd be in the rafters.
Yeah.
He'd be in the rafters if he had spent all his time with Bill Self.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And they do love him. He's just one of those kids. He sort of says what he feels, and I'm a dog, and they all do the woof, 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 woof when he's playing and all that. And he's a heck of a player and a great kid. Looks like just a terrific kid, too. So I think they're the kind of guys you can latch onto, but they're here. Then 2 years from now, you go, hey, who was that kid that was really popular that spent 6 months here?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. You're right.
Here's what I worry about. This is what kills me. And I'm an old man, so got children. We got between Sarah and I, we got 10 kids, right? I worry about them when these kids who are not going to end up in making money in their sport of basketball. Where are they as far as college is concerned? Yeah. All these transfers. How many of Melvin Council's courses at St. Bonaventure transferred to University of Kansas? Where is he academically? Is he a sophomore? Is he a junior? Is he going to get a degree? What's the situation? What are these kids going to do? And I know, the kid's making $1 million. I said, that's like making $100,000 a year for 10 years, and that's before taxes.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't tell me it's going to last him.
Retiring.
It's not going to last him the rest of his life. He's got to find something to do.
And I don't know. We don't know exactly what all these kids are making. There are reports out there, but a lot of these guys we think might make $1 million. They might make $200,000.
Yeah,
which
sure.
I'm not saying it's not good money, but 1 year of your life, it's not going all that far when you stack it up over several years.
Plus, they're single. Most of them. They're paying 38 or 39% taxes.
And once they buy the car, they got $50,000 left. Let's be honest.
That's right.
Frank,
can't even get the house like money.
Exactly. Frank Bowl is here on KCMO. We're going to take a quick break, come back with Frank, who's now also a commercial star. We'll talk to him about that and more coming up next.
from Overland Park to Parkville. You're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
We've got longtime Kansas City sportscaster Frank Bowl in for our Feature Friday segment on KCMO. Check out his podcast, There's Just Something About Kansas City. We'll get to that here coming up in a few minutes. You know Ring Doorbell, Frank? You got a Ring Doorbell by chance?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right. Well, I just got this notification.
I don't know if I should give out that information or not.
Well, I got a Ring Doorbell notification here, and I see, and you can kind of see what goes on your front porch. My wife just walked outside to put up the American flag, and I had the Villanova flag up. I put it up this morning, and you can hear them through the Ring Doorbell. So I just hear my wife say, "Oh, he's got the Villanova flag up today." So she walks back inside with the American flag. I said, "You know what? One day a year, the American flag is not going up on the front porch." Okay?
It's all right, baby. V for Villanova today.
That's right. That's
all
right.
It is, yeah.
So you were obviously, as a Villanova guy, very much involved. 2016, when they won the national championship, you were still in the business here in Kansas
City.
City.
Obviously, we'd be covering Kansas, Missouri, Kansas State. We were not covering Villanova, but I did watch the game at the Grand Falloon. We had a room upstairs. We used to have the old Villanova club here.
Yeah.
Right? There were a lot of people from Villanova, graduating from Villanova, whatever, old guys like me, whatever. We had the upstairs of the Grand Falloon.
Okay.
Right? Downstairs was North Carolina.
Oh.
And so every time North Carolina did something, yeah, and every time Villanova did something, yeah, from both ends of the bar. So it was that was fun. Chris Jenkins hit, of course, the North Carolina guy hit the shot.
Yeah.
Falling out of bounds,
Yeah.
The other way, and then Chris Jenkins came down and hit the shot.
They just did. It's been 10 years ago now since, of course, that 2016 national championship. True TV did a 30-minute documentary.
Yes.
I DVR'd it. I have not watched it yet, but they released it this week on that game. 2018, Villanova beats Kansas in the Final Four. Then they blow out Michigan in the championship.
Right.
That was my first week here in Kansas City.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I was walking around. That Monday of the Michigan game was my first day at work here in Kansas City.
Gosh.
So I'm walking around Power and Light on the Saturday playing Kansas in Villanova gear. I have not done a show here. I don't know anybody here. My wife's not here yet. And they thought I was a K-State fan just trolling the KU fans. These drunk guys walk up to me. They say, "Oh yeah, where's Villanova?"
Yeah,
and I said,
exactly.
"Well, it's in Villanova, Pennsylvania."
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, okay." They thought I was a K-State fan, just screwing with everyone.
Yeah,
but you
sure.
were down there at the game in Houston,
I was
right?
there, which was great. Chad Boger, who's our president over at 810, he knew Villanova obviously qualified. Kansas was going. We're going to go cover Kansas anyway. He sent me along, and I helped do some of the interviews. In fact, I got Jay Wright one-on-one the day before the Kansas game. And he came after he'd done all the other interviews with, everybody. And he took 5 minutes out with me.
That's awesome.
Just a one-on-one. It was just awesome. And then, of course, they beat Kansas. And normally we'd go home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he'd send us home. And Chad said, stay. He said, just stay and watch the championship game. You're there. Just come back on Tuesday morning or whatever. Don't worry about it. Have a great time. You don't have to do anything. So I go. And I see a bunch of my friends there, a lot of people from Villanova there. So they win.
Mm-hmm.
They're cutting down the nets, and Jay's the last one up, and he cuts down the net and weighs it and does. And he walks down, and they have all the media behind a rope
Mm-hmm.
on the basketball court. We're all standing behind a rope, and Jay comes down off the ladder, and he sees me, and all the Philadelphia media are right beside me, and I have my phone, and I'm taking pictures, and then I just pop on my recorder.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay walks over and goes, "Hey, Frank, what do you think about that? Boom, that was awesome." And all of a sudden, these Philadelphia media people were just going bat crap because you're not allowed to interview anybody on the basketball court. You got to wait until they go do their post game. And he's talking to me. We about 2 or 3 minutes he just did, and they were bat crap. They go, "Who is this guy? What's he interviewing for? Where's he from? What's he?"
That's great.
It was really cool.
Jay's the best.
Oh,
He's
Jay's
just the
a great
best.
guy,
He did an interview with me my freshman year when I was doing student radio. No reason whatsoever to have to do it. It was like a Saturday morning in September, and he's calling me in live for a radio show with a freshman that he's never met and couldn't pick out of a lineup. That's just the kind of guy that he was.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to get to a couple of other stories. Where were you in '85 for the national championship?
85, I was in Fort Myers, Florida at spring training covering the Royals. They played Georgetown, and Villanova played Georgetown. 3 Big East teams were in the Final Four. St. John's was there as well, and then Memphis was the other team.
Mm-hmm.
So we're watching in this bar, Monday night in a bar in Fort Myers, Florida. And, nobody there is really watching the game. So I'm in there, and I'm the Villanova guy, and I'm cheering, going crazy. and everybody hated Georgetown. You know,
Mhm.
so they hated John Thompson, they hated Georgetown, whatever. And by the time we left that bar after Villanova had beaten them, everybody in the bar was singing "V for Villanova." You know,
That's
"V
awesome.
for victory." It was great. We had a great time. So it was a lot of fun.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was great.
Frank Bowl, I got a couple of minutes. Two things I got to ask you about. The T-Mobile, you are a star. You're a commercial star now, man. You are in a T-Mobile commercial.
My wife and I.
Your
Sarah,
wife and I,
yes.
in a T-Mobile commercial. People are going to see it during the tournament this weekend.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
My wife, Sarah, she works with Exposure.
Mhm.
They are an agency that sends out talent, and she sings, she does voiceovers, she is in the commercials, and in fact, she tells me she's been married to 15 other guys. Okay, on the commercials, right? This time they actually wanted her husband to be on a commercial with her, so ended up being on. 3 of my grandkids are on there as well. So
That's great.
It's just awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So look for
it's
Frank.
great.
He's gone
Yeah,
national.
it's a T-Mobile commercial. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the podcast, There's Just Something About Kansas City. What's going on there? You're having a lot of success with it. I see it pop up all the time. So what's coming up there?
Everything has been just terrific. It was Sarah's idea. It's her brainchild, and she has worked so hard for this. And we're still working. You know, we're a 501c3, so there's just something about Kansas City. If you want to, become one of our guardian angels, so to speak, join us. And it's been terrific. We have not had anybody say no. It's just
That's amazing.
It's if or when the schedule hooks up, but it has been absolutely incredible.
You've done a great
The
job
support.
with it.
Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank my wife, Sarah. It was all hers.
Well, hey, it's keeping you busy too.
Yeah, it is.
Frank Bowl, V for Villanova, baby. Go Cats.
V for victory.
There you go. Frank Bowl on KCMO. Caller of the Day is coming up.
From Smithville to Shawnee Mission, you're listening to Mundo in the Morning on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
$9:33. Great to have Frank Bowl on the show, as always, on KCMO Talk Radio. We got a great day. We got KU playing Cal Baptist tonight. We've got Mizzou and Miami over in St. Louis. If you missed it this morning, we had on the president of the University of Missouri joining us here on KCMO, Moon Choi, who I guess his real pronunciation is Chu, but he's like, everyone screwed it up. I just go by Choi.
Go with it, right?
Yeah, literally. He just went with it.
Of explaining.
Yeah, he's like, I can't correct everybody I meet. So I'm just, because I looked it up before I talked to him, and I talked to him privately. I said, sir, it's Moon Chu? And he goes, well, yes, it is, but now I just go by Choi because that's what everyone says here in the States.
Nobody will know what you're talking about when you use his right name.
Exactly. So he was appreciative that I had his name correct, but then he said, don't worry about it. I just go by Moon Choi. So we talked to him earlier this morning. That interview is going to be up on the podcast after the show. And first time I've talked to him, really good guy, and knows what's going on over here on KCMO Talk Radio. Now, our caller of the day, we were talking about it this morning, and that's, of course, the President of the United States trolling the Japanese not even the Prime Minister. She loves Trump. She jumped into his arms yesterday when they met at the White House, but more so trolling the world media and, in some respects, the Japanese media, who asked the president yesterday as he's sitting there next to the Prime Minister, hey, why didn't you tell your allies about the attacks in Iran? And Trump said this.
Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
Jeez.
Right?
Oh, my gosh. I just love it. I love everything about that. But some breaking news. The media is now blaming Trump for Pearl Harbor when he was negative 5 years old. And with that, let's get to our caller of the day.
Hello? It's the Mundo in the Morning Caller of the Day on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
By the way, breaking news, Democrats are now blaming Trump for Pearl Harbor when he was negative 5 years old. So that's going on now as well. Libby's in Waldo. Hi, Libby. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Pete. Okay, poor guy being blamed. Okay, I wanted to piggyback on something that you said earlier this morning, and I think I am hoping that other listeners got it. I think they do. We have a good audience here. Our country has been incredible in terms of giving a lot. And many times, I don't think we really ever ask for justifying what that country is going to do with the money that we give or the help that we give. We don't usually demand that at all. And in our personal lives, what you said that really hit home, and it's very, very powerful, equality does not mean the same. And I think there's so much focus on being equal on small levels, but in the larger picture, you're absolutely right, Pete. Other countries aren't equal to us at all, but we still try to give and we still try to help. And when we do that, we benefit. They benefit hugely. And so for them to not come forward and say, thank you for what you did for my country, and I really now want to do something for your country. How may I help? And we're not getting that. But if you look at our personal lives, how often do we get that even when we give openly?
Mm-hmm.
That's
exactly right. And we don't really ask them for much. We don't ask them really for anything.
No.
And, we're the reason, frankly, that the world hasn't been a bigger mess since World War II.
That's
right. There's an ungratefulness there. And the notion that, well, if Trump was nicer to us, we might help. It's such a bunch of crock, Libby.
It is.
It's a bunch of nonsense. And deep down, everybody knows it. It's just their convenient excuse to not step to the plate.
Yeah, because when you do step to the plate in our personal lives as well as on a global basis, there's responsibility. it's not obligation. There's responsibility, and you have to accept the consequences of the actions that you're taking, and they simply don't want to be responsible.
That is Libby and Waldo as our caller of the day. Very good call. Now, the good news is that there has been some movement on this front where Japan yesterday joined England and France, and then Canada jumped on at the last minute too. The Netherlands in there as well to help out in the Strait of Hormuz. And I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad it's happening after they first rebuked Trump earlier this week. It's like, you guys have a chance to prove you're not a bunch of freeloaders. And their initial reaction was to just keep freeloading. But at least now some of them are starting to realize, wait, this is our chance to prove. Like, if you wanted to stick it to Trump, you would say, yes, sir, what do you need from us? It's your chance to prove you're not everything Trump claims you to be. And they're so stuck in their ways. Their initial reaction was to say, no, we're going to keep freeloading, and you guys do all the work and the heavy lifting. And now, at least yesterday, there was this letter that came out where they're realizing, hey, you know what? Maybe we should help out here because it's also in our best interests.
Trump wasn't asking for, like, soldiers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He wasn't asking for personnel. He was asking to use the base in the UK. And no.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. We just wanted to land, park. Just need a parking space here for a few minutes. Right? It got ridiculous. Well, now all the chicken you-know-whats are all like, oh, well, if you're doing it, I'll do it. You go ahead. I'll go. I'll be right behind you.
Yep.
Right.
We got Germany. We got Italy. We got Japan. Suddenly, they've all kind of at least signed a letter. It's not exactly clear on what they're going to do, but the first step is signing the letter, right? Putting out the statement. Of course, Spain, which is totally worthless and feckless, is not going to be on that letter. But we got 5 or 6 of them on board, John.
I think what's worse is that Zelensky stepped forward before they did, right? They realized what tools they look like at that point.
Well, listen, there's plenty to criticize. I'm not one of these, and I haven't been for the last 4 years, rip Zelensky guys. As much as I do believe there's been plenty of waste, fraud, and abuse, overall, I mean, listen, Zelensky is leading a country in wartime, so I'll just give him that much. But to his credit, he's like, hey, you know what? These guys shipped us $200 billion the last few years. At least he knows where his bread is buttered. I mean, the rest of them, they don't realize how bad they would have it. First off, most of them would be speaking German if it wasn't for the United States. And I know that goes back 80 plus years at this point. But even over the last several decades, like when you talk about our ratio of what we're spending on NATO versus these countries and how that's obviously been a point of contention the last few years, just be grateful. And when you're asked to step up once in a blue moon, could you do it? And to your point, John, we're not saying, can we get 50,000 troops here?
I know.
Jeez.
Right? Zelensky's got the low-tech weaponry to fight these drones. There's no point spending $15,000 on a missile to shoot down a $1,500 drone, right?
Yeah.
You might as well get a jugs machine from the Chiefs training camp and shoot some footballs out at it, right? Like, guys practice to catch with.
You can't make it up. You can't make it
Zelensky
up.
Zelensky could be of some help.
Yeah, so good for him. He can give us some of our stuff back, basically. It's kind of all we're asking for, right? Unbelievable.
Yeah, we got a few surplus flags we could ship you too here.
Yes, exactly right. Man, 913-408-7957. Some breaking news. Chuck Norris has passed away. Just getting this news here. 86 years old. Wow, 86 years old for Chuck Norris. Oh, boy. The Chuck Norris jokes are already out there.
I'm just say, right? There's got to be, they're already there, aren't they?
Chuck Norris didn't die. He told death he was coming.
Of course.
All right. Well, Chuck Norris, born in 1940, dead at the age of 86. Of course, iconic action star, led the hit series Walker, Texas Ranger. He was hospitalized in Hawaii on Thursday. His family posted a statement saying that he had died on Friday morning. Chuck Norris dead at the age of 86. Kevin Keatsman will wrap up the week with us on a Friday morning as we try to match his weather in Arizona on a Friday here on KCMO.
Coming up at 10 o'clock, it's Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio, right after Pete Mundo and Mundo in the Morning.
All right, here we go. Wrapping up the week, as always, with the great Kevin Keatsman of Uncanceled here on KCMO Talk Radio. And he is coming from the amazing state of Arizona, which I love even more because they do not spring forward for daylight saving time. Hey, Kevin, what's going on, man?
I'm totally discombobulated all week. This not changing the clock in Arizona has got me way off kilter. I don't know how they do it out here. I don't know how they survive.
You're making the case for me. Oh, my gosh. That's too much, man. It's too
I'm
much.
Teasing. There's a 2-hour time difference. This
Yes.
is the main thing with Kansas City. That's the only thing that gets me. When I was out here last time broadcasting Uncanceled with KCMO Talk Radio, there was only a 1-hour time difference, and it really does alter my podcast schedule. It's just way too early for me to get up and do my podcast before the radio show while I'm here. So I just change that schedule. This one stays the same. It's not particularly early here. I mean, my show comes on at 8. That's no big deal at all. But no, there is no daylight saving time in Arizona. I think there's pockets of Indiana. Maybe Indianapolis is that way. There are places that don't do it, but they already have long days here. They're basically right now at a stage where they have longer days that because of where obviously the sun's longer here. They have the longest day in what would be the mountain time zone. So right now they're essentially on California time because everyone else switched.
Yes.
So California joined them, which does make their days sort of technically shorter.
Yes, they do. And they seem, I mean, you enjoy the sunlight down there, though? You feel like you got enough of it down there at night?
Yeah, so we went to the Royals game last night. It was 106 here yesterday. These are all, by the way, shattered records. The highest I've ever been to I went to spring training out here maybe 15 years in a row, working in sports radio, and the hottest I could ever remember was 93 or 94 degrees. We had 106 yesterday. They moved the game from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock, 6:05. There was not a person fanning themselves. Nobody sweated. The sun went behind the seats. Everybody was in the shade. It's the weirdest thing ever out here. At first pitch, it was 99. The real feel was 91. And to me, it felt like 82 at Kauffman Stadium. I bet there will be 20 night games at Kauffman Stadium this year more miserable than what there was here last night.
Well, it's that humidity.
There's just no explaining it. I don't even understand it.
It's the Kansas City humidity that you just don't deal with, right? Because you've talked about the dry heat. I would take 100 when I lived in Western Oklahoma. I would take 100 there versus 90 here, and that's what I'm hearing from you.
It's just the sun. If you go out in the afternoon when the sun hits you, you're like, oh my God, it just hits you, and you're like, ah, and you feel the heat off the sun, but you don't feel it like if you're in your garage, getting in your car, or out on a deck that's covered or something. If you're in the shade, it's just a totally different deal. I noticed this many years ago. I was like, I never sweat when I'm in Arizona. You know, we'll go play golf, and golf typically takes 4 hours, but you're out in the heat probably for 5 before you warm up, and then you put your stuff away at the end. If you go inside for a cold beer after your round of golf, you get an itch on your leg, and you scratch it, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's salt all over my leg. You were sweating all day, and you just didn't know it. It's crazy. You know how you get salt all over you from sweating, right?
Yeah.
You get that here, but you just don't know you're sweating. It's very dangerous because you can get dehydrated. You got to drink water all day because you literally don't know you're sweating.
Well, think about this, too. So because they don't spring ahead, that sun went down a little earlier last night, which allowed more people to be in the shade at an earlier time. So I love it. I love it.
Or they could have kept us out of rush hour and played at 7:05.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true.
It's funny, Pete. They've never done this before. They're playing some spring training. It's about 4 or 5 days they're going to have this massive heat here, and then it's going to go back to 82 and sunny for, throughout April and whatnot. But they pulled some games back to 10 a.m., which is pretty much what my tee time was the other day. And we really didn't get hot until the last 4 or 5 holes. About 1 o'clock, it starts to just heat up, and you're like, oh, boy, this is something else. So some of the spring training games are 10 a.m., and some of them are moved back to 6, but nobody's playing right now in the middle of the afternoon.
All right. Have you been able to get Spencer out for some golf? Or since he's on dad duties a few months in, he's got to play his cards right to get out for a round?
We had a pool party on Sunday with the grandbaby. They all came over to our complex. We have a community pool here, and we grilled burgers and hot dogs, and it was great. It was before the hotter heat came. I think it was about 94 on Sunday. And we got the little baby in the pool, barely. Like his legs to his little swimmy diaper holding on to him. He didn't care for it much. And so Spencer took him out of the water, and, yeah, we had a really nice day. But, no, he's been working and hasn't had a chance to play golf yet.
All right. So now, with these times, good news for you is you don't have to stay up till 10 o'clock to watch Mizzou or whatever it is, 9:10 tonight. You'll have a 7:10 tip for the Missouri game tonight, 6:45 for KU. What's on the rundown?
Well, I had a little action on the under of the Houston game last night.
Oh.
So we were at the Royals game, and I'm watching a little bit of this on my phone, and we left after the 7th inning, which is pretty typical of a spring training game. And we stopped. We have about a 25-minute drive to Surprise from where we are. And we stopped about halfway, and we pulled in a place, and I watched the last 10 minutes of the Houston game. And then this place was closing at 9, Pete. It closed at 9. I'm like, okay. They're like, last call. We get in there about 8:40 or something, 8:30, 8:40. I'm just watching the last few minutes of this game. It's over. It's done. I'm back at my place by 9 o'clock. We're getting ready to go to bed. This is just awesome. I love the fact that sports ends early out here.
Yes, that definitely a perk. So with that, I had on Frank Bowl earlier today, and we were talking about just the characters in the Big Eight, some of the coaches back in the heyday of the conference. What's your best memory from the Big 8 days and the coaches involved?
You know, I remember Missouri came in. Norm Stewart was just a character. So was Billy Tubbs. There were so many coaches that were absolute characters. Bill Self sort of is. Bill Self will say what he thinks, but he doesn't have that flamboyancy, the character that a lot of these other coaches had. Norm Stewart brought in a team, I think it was still the Big 8, that finished last, 8th in the Big 8, and came in and won the tournament and made the NCAAs. And it was just incredible. And I covered Missouri. My beat for, Frank talked about the travel with Channel 4 and stuff. I would travel with Missouri. There was also a time we were on a Missouri charter flight, and Norm Stewart walks back to the back of the plane, and the media are allowed on there. We had to buy our tickets to get on, but we flew with them, and it was just easier. And they had a couple of players back there that had eaten steak on they're eating like kings on these flights, right?
Yeah.
And it was getting a little gassy back there. And he comes walking down there. I was like, whoa, my God. It was unbelievable, the players that were back there. Norm's like, I am never walking to the back of this plane again. It was the weirdest flight ever because all these players, I don't know what else they gave them other than food. They were the gassiest human beings ever on an airplane, and they didn't care.
Oh, jeez.
It was unbelievable.
And poor Kev had to sit back there with them and smell it the whole time is what I'm hearing.
It was better than when I was a kid and my parents smoked on the airplane.
Well, that's a good point. It's a low bar, but that's a very good point. Oh, my goodness. All right, so tonight, who do you like tonight in these two games?
Man, Missouri's a coin toss. They're psycho. Their last 3 games, they were not good. I mean, they finished very poorly, but maybe that's a wake-up call. There's no rhyme or reason what happens at the end of the season versus the tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be shocked if KU lost to Cal Baptist. So I think they advanced, and I think it gets tough with their game coming up on Sunday. But I don't expect Missouri to get out of this weekend. It'd be a heck of a story if Missouri won 2 games, I'll tell you that. If they did something like that in advance, that would be one heck of a story. So I think it's probably going to be a short run for both of them.
So you think that KU does not make it to the Sweet 16 if they get, let's say, St. John's in round 2?
I think they got a 50-50 shot of the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
So I just think cumulatively this is going to be difficult. And then they may play Duke, right?
Yeah.
And, Duke had their phone-it-in game yesterday.
Yep.
They showed up and were like, just put some air in the ball. We'll be good here today.
Mm-hmm.
They got away with it, but they're a really good basketball team. I would not see Kansas beating Duke in the tournament.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I agree with you there. Well, hey, enjoy it. Enjoy the early tip times tonight while the rest of us are having to drag on until 11:30 or whatever it ends up being. And enjoy the show, my man. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Thank you, buddy. Have a great weekend.
You as well. Kevin Keatsman, uncanceled, obviously does an outstanding job. Coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Stay cool. And we'll be back on Monday morning at 6 right here on KCMO Talk Radio.